Chapter 15. Although you're wearing a mask, I recognize you. You're Yuan Yang. Did Arashir Yudo send you here? Xing Hui stepped forward and asked. Yuan Yang's expression changed. He didn't expect that Xing Hui, a person from the cloud-desolate city, would be able to recognize him. Being exposed and hiding one's identity were two completely different matters. If his identity wasn't exposed, Elder Zhuri might be able to get away with it. But now, once Nalan Fei pursued the matter, Elder Zhuri might not be able to protect this incompetent servant. Damn it. I don't know what you're talking about. Yuan Yang suddenly turned to Yun Tong. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Hand him over, or die. He's really sent by Arashir Yudo? What a vicious woman. According to Yuan Yang's reaction, Yun Tong suddenly guessed something. He was shocked. However, he immediately realized that their cloud forest tower's position was extremely important. If they used it well, it would be an extremely rare opportunity for their cloud forest tower. If they protected Xing Hui and sent Xing Hui to Nalan Fei, not only would Nalan Fei be able to take down Arashir Yudo and send Cho Xing Hui to the ranks of inner disciples, their cloud forest tower would also be able to use Cho Xing Hui to connect with Nalan Fei, a direct disciple. Young Master, Young Miss, Yun Tong's gaze immediately turned to Yun Bai and Yun Yun. As the children of the Master, even if they were only one of the dozen children, they were still considered the highest leaders since they were here. Our cloud forest tower can't get involved in this matter. Yun Bai looked at Yuan Yang, who was emitting an aura that was even stronger than the cloud forest tower's elder, and quickly said, "This matter might be beneficial to our cloud forest tower. It's better to provide timely assistance than icing on the cake. If we can take this opportunity to save Xing Hui, benefit? There was an elder behind Arashir Yudo. What good would it do to offend an elder? Our cloud forest tower cannot interfere in this matter. Arashir Yudo isn't a disciple of an elder of the Hunyuan Heaven sect, but the relationship between Cho Xing Hui and Nalan Fei is definitely true. Nalan Fei is not a member of the Zhua family. Who knows how much she values the Zhua family? All right, we must not interfere in this matter." After Yun Bai finished speaking, she cupped her hands at Yuan Yang before turning to Xing Hui and saying, "Cho Xing Hui, this matter is between you and Arashir Yudo. It's not appropriate for our cloud forest tower to get involved. Please don't blame us." Xing Hui glanced at Yun Bai and did not say a word. Before Yuan Yang and the others were about to finish their negotiations with the cloud forest tower, Xing Hui took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and dashed into the forest at the side. "Stop him!" Yuan Yang roared as the blood energy in his body suddenly erupted. Like an eagle soaring into the sky, he leaped over 10 meters and charged toward Xing Hui. The horse under his feet let out a painful whine under the force of his blood energy eruption and fell to the ground, bleeding to death. The Tianhe sect people cupped their hands at Yun Bai and Yun Yun before they quickly dismounted and charged toward the forest at the side. Seeing the Tianhe sect people's etiquette and recalling how Cho Xing Hui had coldly left without saying a word, Yun Bai could not help but snort softly. People from small clans don't know how to be polite. Even if our cloud forest tower is unwilling to help him, he still stayed in our convoy for more than 10 days. How could he leave without even saying goodbye? This kind of person will never achieve great things. Yun Tong saw Xing Hui running away quickly and knew that it was useless to say anything now. He could only do what he was supposed to do. "Young Master, Young Mistress, we can't stay here for long. It's better for us to leave as soon as possible." Yun Bai and Yun Yun wanted to see the result, but they saw that Xing Hui's speed was not slow at all. Both parties were chasing and escaping, and soon disappeared into the forest. They could only reply, "Let's go." Swish! Xing Hui's figure was darting through the forest at high speed. Yuan Yang and the others did not dare to block and kill on the official road, so they chose a rather remote place. There were many forests around them that were not very dense. However, although these forests were not dense, It gave Tsing Hui some time to deal with them. He had already switched to the fierce and domineering Dongyang sword scripture. He had studied this scripture for many years when he was on Earth. Now that he was cultivating it again, he had accumulated a lot of knowledge. Coupled with the continuous consumption of blood essence pills and the mysterious recovery characteristics, in just 10 days, he was no weaker than a viscera refinement expert. At full speed, other than Yuan Yang and 2 other peak viscera refinement experts, no one could keep up with him. Coupled with how powerful his mind was and how fast his reactions were, he constantly changed directions as he ran, which made it even more difficult for the Heavenly River Sect's masters to chase him down. After running for 15 kilometers, Yuan Yang was actually the only one left chasing after Qing Su. "He dares to chase after me alone." Tsing Hui glanced at Yuan Yang behind him, his eyes cold. His figure did not change, but his speed increased again. This little bastard! Killing intent surged within Yuan Yang. Seeing how Qing Su had actually sped up again, he sucked in a deep breath and his vital energy erupted viciously. Like a cannonball, he closed the distance between them in a single instant. A sharp sword stabbed out from his hand, tearing through the air with an ear-piercing whistle. Bang! Just as the sword was about to pierce Tsing Hui's back, Tsing Hui seemed to have sensed something. He quickly turned and blocked with his sword. Not only did he block Yuan Yang's sword, but he also used the force of the sword to retreat. His toes tapped on a tree branch behind him, and he ran more than 10 meters forward, increasing the distance between them again. "Little bastard, you've exposed my identity, and will most likely be punished by the elders. Do you think I'll let you escape? Die for me." Seeing this, Yuan Yang roared again. His body was like a stream of light as his sword tore through the air and stabbed behind Tsing Hui. However, Qing Su seemed to be able to predict his opponent's movements at all times. He retreated and redirected the thunderous strike, causing its power to plummet, and he blocked it again with his sword. He actually used the force of the strike to widen the distance between them once more. This little bastard's swordsmanship is really amazing. He has grasped every bit of power to the extreme. Even compared to those experts who have practiced swordsmanship for decades, he is not inferior. Su Karen's defeat at his hands is not undeserved. Yuan Yang's 2 swords missed, and his gaze on Tsing Hui finally became serious. When he saw Qing Su flee as quickly as a cheetah, comparable to the speed of a blood transformation expert when they erupted with their vital energy, he knew that he would not be able to last for long if he continued to squander his vital energy like this. He no longer chased after Qing Su so easily. Instead, he followed behind Qing Su, waiting for him to run out of energy before dealing him a fatal blow. For a moment, the two of them, one chasing the other, quickly traversed hundreds of miles in the forest, leaving the Tianhe sect's viscera refining experts far behind. After 100 miles, Tsing Hui's breath did not weaken, but Yuan Yang felt that his qi and blood were running out. He was old and weak. Even if he was a blood transformation grandmaster, running 130 miles at full speed would still consume a lot of energy. On the other hand, Tsing Hui's recovery ability not only healed injuries, but also had the same effect on replenishing physical strength and energy. Even if he maintained his full speed, he still retained 60 to 70% of his physical strength. What's going on? This little bastard seems to have an endless supply of physical strength? Whoosh! Just when Yuan Yang felt that something was wrong, Tsing Hui, who was originally rushing in front, suddenly turned around. The sharp sword in his hand turned into a bright light, meeting Yuan Yang's pursuit at an incredible speed, completely filling his body. Not good. Yuan Yang's expression changed drastically. He immediately unleashed his qi and blood and moved to the side, dodging this calculated sword strike. However, before he could rejoice after dodging the sword strike, Tsing Hui had already turned around and formed a sword with his left hand, viciously stabbing at his heart. Even though Yuan Yang moved to the side again, the force still penetrated his left shoulder. Not only did his bones break, but a strange power also locked down the circulation of qi and blood in his left shoulder, causing him to lose all feeling in his arm. Meridian severing technique. Running 130 miles, you still have such stamina recovery ability. Son of Chaos. You're a son of chaos blessed by the Chaos Temple. A hint of fear appeared in Yuan Yang's eyes. Apart from the recovery ability of a son of chaos, he could not think of any other reason why a viscera refining expert's stamina could surpass that of a blood transformation grandmaster. When he was chasing Tsing Hui, he had told Erasure Yudo about the Son of Chaos and felt that Tsing Hui could never have obtained the inheritance of the Chaos Temple. Who would have thought that his joke would come true? Tsing Hui really was a son of chaos. Everyone, please vote for me today. It's already the new book ranking period. Please cast your precious votes and help Chengfen break through the new book ranking. Chapter 16. The Sons of Chaos were a group of existences that couldn't be measured by common sense. Although more than 90% of the Sons of Chaos in the world were only at the first stage and had no hope of advancing to the second stage in their entire lives, there were always some lucky ones who could obtain the inheritance of a certain almighty and inherit half of the Chaos level, thus soaring to the heavens. Tsing Hui was clearly one of these lucky ones. In addition, according to the divine technique he had displayed in Cloud Desolate City half a month ago, 10th stage, he was actually at least a 10th stage Son of Chaos? At this thought, Yuan Yang's breathing quickened. Even if a 10th stage Son of Chaos inherited it and fell to the 5th stage, it would still allow his cultivation to soar. If he could improve his comprehension and recovery, it wouldn't be difficult for him to revive a withered tree and stimulate his bloodline to step into the awakening realm. Opportunity. This was Yuan Yang's greatest opportunity. Yuan Yang stared at Tsing Hui and shouted in surprise and madness, "Son of Chaos! 10th stage Son of Chaos! Yuan Yang's opportunity has finally arrived. Kid, give me your unique method to open the chaos and I can spare your life. Otherwise..." Swish! Before he could finish speaking, Tsing Hui's sharp sword suddenly stabbed him, interrupting his pleasant surprise. In his shock, he immediately blocked with his sword and faced Tsing Hui's sword head-on. The two swords collided fiercely in the void. Bang! Sparks intersected. Tsing Hui's right hand trembled violently, and his palm seemed to burst with blood, but he held on tightly to his sword. His body stuck close to Yuan Yang's figure, and his left hand pointed at him again. "Take me prisoner!" In the face of this finger, Yuan Yang, a blood transformation expert, displayed unbelievably tyrannical strength. His sword trembled and slashed horizontally at an incredible speed, intending to behead him before the finger could hit his vital points. However, just as the sword slashed horizontally, he seemed to wake up from his daze. He couldn't kill him. If he killed him, how could he force Tsing Hui to reveal the method to open the primal chaos and inherit his rank as a Son of Chaos? With a change of thought, the tip of the sword changed from cutting to stabbing. Furthermore, the direction of the sword, which was originally aimed at the head, changed to the chest, and even deliberately avoided the heart. Qi! The sword light penetrated his body. Faced with Yuan Yang's attack, Qing Su formed a sword with his fingers and actually did not back away at all. He allowed Yuan Yang's sword to pierce his lungs as he stabbed his right hand towards Yuan Yang's chest viciously. Even though Yuan Yang managed to avoid being hit in the heart by a hair's breadth, the unique force of the meridian severing technique still caused his body to suddenly freeze. In the next moment, Tsing Hui's figure retreated explosively as blood spurted out from his body. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain of the sharp sword piercing through his body. With a swing of the sword in his right hand, Yuan Yang's entire arm was cut off and sent flying into the air. Yuan Yang let out a ferocious and painful roar. As he retreated explosively, his eyes were filled with disbelief. You You didn't dodge? If you behead me with a sword, I'll dodge. Other than that, even if you stab me in the heart, with the recovery characteristic, I believe I can still persevere. Xing Hui glanced at the wound on his body and stopped the bleeding. Besides, the place you stabbed wasn't even the heart. Yuan Yang's heart was filled with regret. The temptation of becoming a 10th stage son of chaos had almost blinded his mind, causing him to be unwilling to kill Xing Hui in the battle. Xing Hui wasn't a weakling, and he had consumed a lot of energy. Under such circumstances, if he fought with all his strength, his chances of winning were only 70 or even 60%. How could he be restrained? But now, with his right hand cut off and a broken bone in his left hand, not to mention capturing Xing Hui alive, it would be difficult for him to even protect himself. I can't capture him. I need help. With this thought, Yuan Yang retreated fiercely, intending to escape and meet up with the rest of the Tianhe sect. However, Xing Hui wouldn't make the same mistake. He seemed to have been waiting for Yuan Yang to lose his will to fight and retreat. While Yuan Yang was retreating, he rushed forward, and the sharp sword in his hand was like a meteor striking the moon, instantly stabbing towards Yuan Yang. Get lost! At the critical moment, the peak blood-changing Grandmaster roared. Even though his left hand was severely injured, he still hammered out. His energy erupted, creating a thunder-like air explosion in the void. Xing Hui didn't dodge and slammed into Yuan Yang's thunderous hammer. As his body was blasted away, he slashed with the sharp sword in his hand and cut off Yuan Yang's legs. Ah! Bang! A scream and a crash sounded at the same time. Xing Hui, who was sent flying, slammed heavily into a tree as thick as a thigh. The dissipating force broke the tree and he spat out a mouthful of blood. As he spat out the blood, his recovery characteristics were activated. Traces of cool air constantly moistened his burning internal organs. On the other hand, Yuan Yang, the blood-changing Grandmaster, not only had one arm cut off, but both his legs were also cut off. His whole body was covered in blood. The severe pain almost drowned his consciousness. Even if he had a powerful strength, he couldn't use it at all. After a while, Xing Hui slowly took a breath. Holding the sword, he came to Yuan Yang. But he still didn't get close. While he healed his injuries, he allowed the blood to flow out of his body. Seeing how cautious Qing Su was, Yuan Yang, who originally still had the strength to strike, laughed bitterly. I never thought that I, Yuan Yang, who has dominated the world for over 60 years, would actually fall at the hands of a brat who's still wet behind the ears. How pitiful! How hateful! If I hadn't been greedy and didn't want to kill you, today's situation might not have been like this. Xing Hui didn't say anything. Instead, he continued to recover his strength. At the same time, he waited for Yuan Yang to continue to weaken from the blood loss. A blood-changing Grandmaster had precise control over his blood and qi. Some small injuries could prevent blood from flowing out, but that didn't mean that he could still control his blood and qi from flowing out when 3 of his limbs were cut off. I don't like to torture people. Tell me everything about the Son of Chaos, and I'll give you a quick death. You really are a newly inherited Son of Chaos. How hateful, how hateful! Why didn't such an opportunity fall into my hands? Yuan Yang's miserable expression was filled with unwillingness. Answer my question. Yuan Yang looked at Xing Hui as if he was looking at an idiot. He was about to die, so what did he have to fear? Xing Hui shook his head and walked up to Yuan Yang. The human body has many major acupoints, and each acupoint has inconceivable abilities. Some can make people lose all their strength, some can cut off their blood and qi, some can make people feel refreshed, and some can make people wish they were dead. With that, he pointed a finger. Instantly, Yuan Yang, who had been unafraid of death, began to tremble all over. His eyes were filled with pain, and before long, he was drenched in sweat. After less than 3 minutes, he shouted with a pained expression, "I'll talk. I'll talk." With that, Tsing Hui unsealed his acupoint. Yuan Yang panted weakly, staring at Tsing Hui with a hint of fear in his eyes. You? What kind of inheritance did you get? Tell me everything about the Son of Chaos. Half an hour later, Tsing Hui left the small forest. The Son of Chaos. It's an opportunity, but also a crisis. There are forces that specialize in hunting sons of chaos above the first stage and forcing them to reveal the method of opening the chaos before selling it. Even a second stage son of chaos can inherit the first stage and obtain first stage comprehension, first stage recovery, and so on. It seems that I have to be careful when using divine arts and other prominent chaos secret technique. Tsing Hui muttered to himself. After a moment, he glanced at the horizon. It was the direction of the Lorraine royal capital. As long as he went to the Lorraine royal capital, he could take the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's flying ship to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect and use Nalan Fei's relationship to become a Hunyuan Heaven Sect disciple. But before that, he had to have enough strength to protect himself. Organs refining? Obviously not enough. Chapter 17. In the vast forest, Tsing Hui held his sword and stood against the wind on a boulder in the open air. It had been 3 months since the assassination of Yuan Yang. In these 3 months, Tsing Hui had been eating the wind and drinking the dew, wandering in the forest, and painstakingly cultivating. He had already cultivated to the peak of the 5th level of the Dongyang Sword Manual. This level was equivalent to a martial arts grandmaster in China on Earth. With just one more step, he would be able to break through the limits of the human body, transcend mortality, and become a martial saint who could resist firearms with his body. In this world, it was equivalent to a blood-changing grandmaster. In this world, to cultivate to this level, one needs to cultivate suitable methods to awaken the so-called bloodline, stimulate one's vital energy, and step into the immortal realm. However, these methods are all in the hands of the Holy Lands and sections. The bloodline activation methods that are circulated in the outside world, even if they can awaken the bloodline talent, are at best ordinary bloodline talent. Not to mention the legendary Holy Beast and Divine Beast bloodline talents, even the Spirit Beast bloodline talents are difficult to obtain. This is the monopoly of cultivation resources. The 10 Holy Lands rely on these methods to ensure their supreme status in the eastern wilderness. Tsing Hui muttered to himself. This information was leaked by a son of chaos who came from a poor family more than 3,000 years ago. It allowed people to know about the existence of the Holy Beast bloodline talents and Divine Beast bloodline talent. It was a futile attempt to provoke people and shake the status of the 10 Holy Land. Unfortunately, in this world, the strong were respected, and one person could suppress a region. The 10 Holy Lands had as many powerful people as clouds. Although many small sects were dissatisfied with the 10 Holy Lands monopolizing the top cultivation methods, if they dared to resist, it would inevitably lead to thunderous suppression. Over time, people no longer wanted to fight against the 10 Holy Lands and overthrow the 10 Holy Lands' monopoly on cultivation and resources. Instead, they tried to find ways to join the 10 Holy Lands or even establish a relationship with them. This was also why, even though some countries were not weak, the arrival of a true disciple from one of the 10 great Holy Lands could still make them follow his lead. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect has many bloodline awakening techniques, and one of them is the true black hole technique. It's said that when cultivated to the peak, one can awaken the Divine Beast Kuanpeng's bloodline talent. However, only the most outstanding disciples or even the sect master's son are allowed to learn such a technique. Others can only learn the second-level true Saint Beast bloodline technique, which is already the limit. With the top techniques monopolized, it will be difficult for those who practice ordinary techniques to advance. Even if they succeed, they will fall behind others. It should be known that when a divine beast bloodline fights a ferocious beast bloodline, it will often be a crushing victory. Some people who have awakened their divine beast bloodline a second time can even defeat stronger opponents. With that thought, Tsing Hui's eyes became resolute. He didn't want his future cultivation path to be controlled by others. A top-notch technique? Just because others couldn't obtain it didn't mean that he couldn't. The speed at which his chaos level increased far surpassed that of ordinary people. Even people like the Xian Yang sect master couldn't compare to him. As long as his chaos level continued to increase, he would eventually have a chance to trade for a top-notch technique. Before I obtain a top-notch technique, I have to cultivate the last level of the Dongyang Sword Codex and follow the path of the Chinese martial arts world on Earth. I have to condense martial will, liberate myself, break the limits of the human body, transcend mortality, and become a martial saint. Martial saint. Condense martial will, break the limits of the human body, and liberate oneself. Will was a person's spiritual will. With one's extremely powerful will as a guide, one would break the limits of the human body and completely liberate one's strength. From there, one would obtain strength that far surpassed that of ordinary people. The human body had self-protection instincts at all times. For example, if one lost blood, one would feel dizzy after losing 10% of blood, one would go into shock after losing 20% of blood, and one's life would be in danger after losing 30% of blood. It could be seen that he still had 70% of the blood in his body that he hadn't used. It was the same for strength. If an ordinary person punched a wooden board, if there were steel nails on the board, they would instinctively avoid that area. When they touched a flame, they would hurriedly withdraw their hand. These were all part of the human body's self-protection mechanism. As for martial saints, they would use their own will as a guide to liberate themselves and completely release the instinctive protective energy in their body. They would break their limits time and time again, waiting for their body to adapt to their limits and stabilize before waiting for the next breakthrough. Every time they broke their limits, their strength would double. Logically speaking, there was no limit to this realm. The only difference was whether the body could withstand it and not collapse. Limits weren't that easy to break. When one's body was liberated, all the energy in one's body would explode. In reality, one's body would no longer have any protection. If one wasn't careful, one's body would collapse. Martial will referred to the concentration of one's spirit, energy, and spirit. Spirit was the foundation of martial will. Because Tsing Hui had fused with Cho Tsing Hui, his spirit was stronger than ordinary people and had reached level 31. The Dongyang Sword Codex's method of condensing sword will was even more domineering. Reaching level 1 of liberation wasn't difficult. Slightly adjusting his state, Tsing Hui's eyes gradually turned sharp. Swish. After he adjusted his state to the peak, the sword in his hand suddenly pierced out. At this moment, his spirit, energy, and spirit were completely concentrated on the trajectory of the sword. Shaoyang Sword Codex. Swish. 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 As Tsing Hui pierced out with his sword, his swordsmanship became faster and faster. In an instant, he had reached his current limit. Streaks of sword edges pierced out, tearing the air and creating air explosions. This caused a dazzling sword shadow to form in front of him. The surrounding vegetation was also swept up by the energy from his body, moving without any wind. Suddenly, Tsing Hui's body shook violently. In the next moment, the sharp sword in his hand had already broken through the limit, and its speed suddenly doubled. Doubled! The difficulty of doubling one's speed under extreme conditions was almost unimaginable. If ordinary people wanted to go from 100 meters in 10 seconds to 100 meters in 9 seconds, they would have to put in a lot of effort and sweat. If he could go from 100 meters in 10 seconds to 100 meters in 5 seconds, he would no longer be an ordinary person. He would be a superhuman. Right now, Tsing Hui was performing such a miracle. 10 stabs, 20 stabs, 30 stabs. When Tsing Hui pierced out 108 stabs at a speed that broke the limit of the human body, his body suddenly stopped. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the trajectory of his swordsmanship stopped abruptly. Ahem! Tsing Hui let out a painful groan. As he stopped stabbing for less than half a second, his body turned blood-red. Many of his blood vessels quickly burst, and blood flowed out of his 7 orifices. Collapse. This was the most terrifying result of a martial Dao master trying to break through to the martial saint realm, the collapse of the physical body. The power obtained from the Dongyang sword manual was tyrannical, but it was also the most dangerous. Since the establishment of the Dongyang sword sect, no one had truly broken through the limit and entered the martial saint realm. However, if this happened to an ordinary martial Dao master, they would not be able to escape the fate of their physical body collapsing and dying. Even if advanced technology could save their lives, it would leave a serious injury in their body. However, Tsing Hui, the recovery characteristic, was fully activated at this moment. While he was in pain, streams of clear energy flowed out of his body, replenishing his body and healing his injuries from the inside out. After 4 hours, the pain in his body had subsided slightly. After 12 hours, the broken veins in his body had begun to heal. After 24 hours, he looked like an ordinary person on the surface. After 72 hours, he had completely recovered. What a domineering recovery characteristic! If it's already like this at the first level, if it's at the second level, Tsing Hui activated the chaos opening technique. After a while, the environment around him changed, and he appeared in the White Land in his personal space. Chaos level. Level 11 required Taoist rhymes. 18100. When the chaos level increased, he could increase one of his abilities by 1 level. Originally, he had chosen the advancement technique. He planned to use the advancement technique to forge a peerless divine artifact and trade it with someone in the Chaos Temple. But now, in order to break through the limit and become a martial saint, he obviously had a better choice. Second-level recovery. After Tsing Hui activated the second-level recovery characteristic, he immediately exited the Chaos Temple and released his body again. He broke through the limit and attacked with his sword. After 108 strikes, his body collapsed. However, this time, from the collapse of his body to the full recovery, it took him less than 2 days. The recovery effect was reduced by half. Second-level recovery. After the body adapts to the first level of release, I can try the second level of release. In order to test it, Tsing Hui cut a finger-long and half a centimeter deep wound on his hand. Then, this wound completely healed in less than 2 hours. There was no wound left. It's much stronger than the first-level recovery. Tsing Hui looked at his recovered wrist and could not help but look forward to the future of the recovery characteristic. The second-level recovery allowed him to recover from external injuries in less than 2 hours. Then, what about the third level, fourth level, ninth level, and 10th level? What kind of recovery ability would he have then? Rebirth from a drop of blood? Undying body? I noticed that there was a mistake in the beginning. The protagonist only had the first level of recovery, but it was written as the second level. It has been changed back. Thank you for the reminder. Chapter 18. On the official road outside the Luolin Kingdom, Tsing Hui slowly headed towards the majestic city that was as majestic as a mountain. After 3 months of cultivation, he had already allowed his body to adapt to the second stage of liberation. According to the Chinese on Earth, he was currently a second-stage martial saint, or rather, a second-stage sword saint. As for the third stage of liberation, Tsing Hui gave it a try, but it was too dangerous. His realm was still shallow, so he was unable to accurately grasp the degree of liberation. Once he released it too much, even the second stage recovery might not be able to save his collapsed body. Half a year has passed. Tsing Hui felt the urgency of time. The level of primal chaos had risen to the 12th level. This time, he chose to level up the advancement technique. I need a high-grade treasure sword. In this way, if I use the advancement technique to level it up, it can directly reach the first high grade. While Tsing Hui was muttering to himself, the sound of horses galloping came from behind him. More than 10 young knights were galloping wildly on the official road, causing the pedestrians on the road to retreat. The aura of this group of more than 10 people was not weak, and they quickly galloped past. But at this moment, one of the female knights seemed to have sensed something and actually urged her horse back. Her gaze was constantly sizing up Tsing Hui. "Shou Tsing Hui?" Tsing Hui looked at the female knight. "I don't know him." But he still nodded. "It's really you. You've finally appeared. We've been looking for you for several months." The female knight looked at Tsing Hui and heaved a sigh of relief. "You are," Tsing Hui said. "I'm Yu Shanshan, Mrs. Maid. Our miss is Nalan Fei. A few months ago, news came out from the Cloud Forest Tower that Elder Juri's servant, Yuan Yang, was ordered by Arashir Yudo to kill you, which immediately angered our Mississippi miss was in a critical period of cultivation, so she sent Lord Shui to lead us here. Firstly, to kill Arashir Yudo and avenge you, and secondly, to find you. However, that woman, Arashir Yudo, was very smart. She actually didn't use the Lorraine Kingdom's flying ship to return to the Hunyuan Heaven sect, causing us to miss. Then, everyone found Yuan Yang's corpse. Knowing that you should be fine, we brought people to destroy the Tianhe sect and planned to return." Yu Shanshan paused for a moment before continuing. "However, when Miss Yunqing left the Luolin royal capital with Lord Shui for the Hunyuan Heaven sect, she begged me to stay and continue investigating your whereabouts. I've been looking for you for an entire month." There was a trace of resentment in her voice when she spoke of this. Because of Tsing Hui, she had wasted a month of her precious time. However, Zhui Yunqing had personally asked her to stay. Moreover, Zhui Yunqing had a chance to become her Miss Favorite, so she couldn't refuse. "Yunqing? Zhui Yunqing?" Tsing Hui nodded. "That little girl was very considerate. Chou Tsing Hui, since you've returned, immediately write a letter for me to bring to the Hunyuan Heaven sect. With Miss Yunqing's kindness, you can forget about going to the Hunyuan Heaven sect to become a disciple. Miss has already taught Zhui Yunqing a lot. From now on, you can stay in the Lorraine Kingdom as the young master of the Zhua family. Don't go to the Hunyuan Heaven sect to distract Mississippi." Tsing Hui shook his head. After learning that high-level Sons of Chaos were so dangerous that there were even factions that specialized in hunting them, he was no longer willing to go to the Hunyuan Heaven sect. If he was exposed, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this moment, several nobles on horseback came up to Tsing Hui and sized him up. The leader, a young man in a golden crown and brocade robe, smiled and cupped his hands together. "You must be the eldest son of the Zhua family, Chou Tsing Hui? We've been looking for you for the past month. It's good that you've found me. I've completed my mission." Yu Shanshan introduced them to Tsing Hui. "Chou Tsing Hui, this is the son of the Xianyan Marquis, the young Marquis Lai Gang. In addition, this is Ning Huaning and Miss Ning Xian from the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Rights, and Feng Xiufeng from the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of War. The young Marquis and the other young masters have put in a lot of effort to find you. In a while, find an opportunity to invite them to thank them. I don't think I need to teach you how to do favors." Tsing Hui didn't say anything and only nodded at them. But this attitude still made Lai Gang a little dissatisfied. In any case, he was a young marquis. Although he couldn't compare with the princes and dukes, he was still a second-tier figure in the Lorraine royal capital. His father was a governor who oversaw the lives of millions of people in a city. He wouldn't even bother to go if ordinary people wanted to invite him. But looking at Zhuo Qingshu's appearance, he was willing to give him a chance. He didn't know the rules. But when he thought about Zhuo Yunqing, who had been brought to the Hunyuan Heaven sect by Nalan Fei, he suppressed his displeasure and didn't say anything. Yu Shanshan couldn't be bothered with Chou Tsing Hui and Lai Gang's emotions. "Chou Tsing Hui, come back with me and write a letter for me to bring to the Hunyuan Heaven sect. or you can stay in the Lorraine royal capital for half a year. Firstly, you can see the young talents of the Lorraine royal capital. Secondly, the Dragon Gate convention that occurs once every 4 years in the Lorraine Kingdom is coming. If you can perform well at the Dragon Gate convention, you might be able to become a fish that leaps over the Dragon Gate and join our Hunyuan Heaven sect with your own ability. No need. I'll go to the city to buy a suitable sword and write a letter for you. You don't even dare to go to the Dragon Gate convention. Do you really want to rely on our young Mrs. Care to reach the heavens in one step? Yu Shanshan looked at Tsing Hui with some disdain. If you don't want to go, then don't go. It's up to you. On the other hand, when Lai Gang heard Tsing Hui mention buying a sword, he had a plan in mind. With the thin layer of relationship with the Hunyuan Heaven sect, he naturally didn't dare to deal with Tsing Hui. But making him lose face or asking for his help was obviously a good choice. He immediately stepped forward with a smile and said, "If you want to buy a weapon, I have a good place to recommend. The weapons there are all of the best, and from time to time there are even ranked spirit weapons for sale. The entire shop is very famous in the Lorraine royal capital." Hearing about ranked spirit weapons, Yu Shanshan was a little tempted. She glanced at Tsing Hui and said, "Then we'll accompany Cho Tsing Hui to buy a weapon first. I'll have to trouble the young Marquis to lead the way." "It's my honor to be able to help Miss Yu." Lai Gang smiled slightly. "When the young Marquis enters the Hunyuan Heaven sect, you can also look for me. Although I'm only an outer disciple in the Hunyuan Heaven sect, many inner disciples will more or less give me face. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Yu when the time comes." Lai Gang cupped his hands. "Young Marquis, you're not going to take him to the Divine Armament Building, are you? The things there aren't things that ordinary people can afford. Even if you want to enter the building, you have to pay a hefty fee." Ning Xian whispered behind Lai Gang. "Stupid, can't you see that the young Marquis is a little dissatisfied with this boy's arrogance, and wants to teach him a lesson? He wants to let people from small cities like them see the world. If the Zhuo family hadn't cultivated good fortune for 3 lifetimes, it wouldn't have been a big deal to receive Miss Nalin's favor. How could they have caught the young Marquis's eye? But a small family is a small family. Even if they have a noble backing them, they can't escape the short-sightedness of a mouse. It's good to let the young Marquis take them to see the world." Ning Hua and Feng Xiu chuckled. While they were whispering, a guard had already given up his horse. The few of them rode into the royal capital of Luolin. Under Lai Gang's lead, they went straight to a quiet and secluded place in the southern part of the city. Not long after, the group had already arrived at a group of courtyards that occupied a rather large area. The interior of the courtyard was decorated elegantly and exquisitely. Stepping into the courtyard, a kind of luxurious and noble aura already hit him in the face. The courtyard was divided into several large and small aisles, leading to different places. On the aisles, there were also people dressed in luxurious clothes with extraordinary bearings coming and going, accompanied by maids. "Welcome to our Ing garden. I'm Koku. Is there anything I can help you with?" A young girl about 16 years old wearing a pure and innocent dress came up to them with a smile. Although she was only a maidservant, she was beautiful and had an extraordinary temperament. She didn't look like a maidservant at all. Instead, she looked more like a rich young lady. Overall, she was not inferior to Ning Xian, the young lady of the Ning family. "I heard that the Divine Armament Building in Ing Garden has a new batch of goods. We want to go and take a look." Lai Gang waved his hand indifferently. "All right. Everyone, please follow me." Kiki smiled and quickly led the group into the courtyard. On the way to the Divine Armament Building, they saw a group of beautiful girls in open clothes. They were surrounded by a young man in luxurious clothes. They were charming and gorgeous. This place. I'm afraid it's not as simple as selling divine armament. Yu Shanshan looked at the girls in revealing clothes and said meaningfully, "This place is called Ing Garden. It's the Ing Garden that grants all requests. Here, anyone can find the things they like, the goods and the joy. Lai Gang explained with a smile in front of them. This is the most famous money-squandering place in the royal capital. As long as you have money, there's nothing they can't satisfy. It's the same for men and women. For the weapons that young Master Zhuo wants to buy, not to mention ordinary swords, they even have graded divine armament. Feng Xiu explained from the side. Xing Hui glanced at Feng Xiu and Lai Gang. He could faintly see that this group of people was up to no good. However, this was not important. He only needed to buy divine armaments that he was satisfied with. Chapter 19. The group stepped forward and soon arrived outside the divine armament tower. Outside the tower, there were 2 Viscera refining realm guards. When they saw the group, they immediately stepped forward. The divine armament tower is an important place. If you want to enter the divine armament tower to buy a divine armament, you must pay an item worth 1,000 gold as collateral. There's such a rule? Feng Xiu was surprised. The divine armament tower is not an ordinary place. The tower owner is very powerful and the items inside are extremely precious. There are many ranked spiritual weapons. I don't need to say more about the value of spiritual weapons. Everyone yearns for them. Not long ago, the tower owner obtained a level 2 spiritual weapon from somewhere and attracted everyone's attention. The entire divine armament tower was busy, but the tower owner likes peace and quiet. Therefore, to prevent idle people from entering the divine armament tower without buying a divine armament, he set up this rule. Lai Gang smiled and said. Then, he stepped forward and placed a token on the plate that the guard was holding. Is this acceptable? So it's the young Marquis of the Xianyan Marquis residence. With the reputation of the Xianyan Marquis residence, it's naturally worth more than 1,000 gold. Please. The guard hurriedly said. Yes. As Lai Gang spoke, he turned to Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and Feng Xiu. The 3 of them also stepped forward and either left a jade token or a token that represented their identity. They were all reputable figures, so they passed one by one. However, when it came to Yu Shanshan, she was a little troubled. At this time, Lai Gang took out another item. This item will be collateral. Miss you please. Yu Shanshan nodded. Thank you. Doesn't Chou Tsing Hui also have the identity token of a Zhuo family disciple? Let's see if it's feasible. Feng Xiu smiled at Tsing Hui. I'm afraid it's not appropriate. Not to mention that he seems to have been expelled from the Zhuo family. Even if he is still a member of the Zhuo family, the people of the Divine Armament Tower may not recognize the Zhuo family disciple token. After all, the cloud-desolate city is too far away from the imperial capital. Lai Gang looked at the others as if he was thinking for Tsing Hui. Do you have any other valuable items on you that can be used as collateral? No, I only have a few valuable items on me. I can't take out anything else as collateral. Me neither. Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and the others didn't like Chou Tsing Hui's indifferent attitude. In addition, they followed Lai Gang's lead. Naturally, they wouldn't undermine him at this time. After Lai Gang asked everyone, he turned back to Chou Tsing Hui and said, Then, we will have to trouble you. How about you wait for us outside, and we will go in and see if there are any suitable weapons for you. I'll ask you when I'm done. Yu Shanshan wanted to see the many-ranked spirit artifacts inside, so she didn't speak at this time. In addition, you have to be clear about the price of the treasured sword you plan to buy. Every treasured sword in the Divine Armament Building is extremely valuable. But if you really don't have enough money on you, you can borrow some from us. We'll be able to gather enough. Lai Gang smiled and said magnanimously. Chou Tsing Hui could see that these people wanted to save his face. He stepped forward and placed a thumb ring on the jade plate. Can I use this as collateral? The guard stared at the thumb ring for a moment and suddenly nodded. A top-grade jade thumb ring. It can be worn to one's spirit and is worth no less than 1,000 gold. Of course, you can enter. Let's go. Tsing Hui didn't bother to talk nonsense with Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xin, and the others. He stepped directly into the divine armament building. Yu Shanshan couldn't help but be a little surprised. Cho Tsinghui, where did you get a jade thumb ring that's worth 1,000 gold? I killed Yuan Yang and confiscated it. Did you really kill Yuan Yang? Of course. Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xin, and the others couldn't help but snort when they heard Tsinghui's words. Yuan Yang is a grandmaster of the blood-changing stage. He can be considered a first-class figure even in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's inner sect. How could you kill him? I heard from Cloud Forest Tower that when Yuan Yang appeared, you were so scared that you fled in panic. Ignorant. Tsinghui spat out 2 words. Lai Gang's expression changed. You, Cho Tsinghui. Yu Shanshan also called out in dissatisfaction. The young marquis spent a lot of time looking for you this month. What kind of attitude is this? However, Tsinghui ignored her and stepped directly into the Divine Armament Building's hall. Since Lai Gang wanted to humiliate him, why should he give them any face? When Yu Shanshan saw that Tsinghui didn't even give her face, she couldn't hold it in anymore. She coldly snorted. If Miss Yunqing hadn't begged me, I wouldn't have cared if you lived or died. You really don't know what's good for you. You deserve to be toyed with by Erasure Yudo. I won't take such a small matter to heart. Don't let this affect Miss Yu and Miss Yunqing's relationship. Lai Gang smiled and said magnanimously. The young marquis is magnanimous. Yu Shanshan nodded. People were afraid of comparison. The difference between Tsinghui, who didn't know etiquette and came from a humble background, and the graceful marquis' son, Lai Gang, was immediately obvious. This kind of person, if he saw her young miss, he would definitely bring her countless troubles. Cuckoo, who was accompanying them, couldn't help but find the childish fight funny. However, she didn't say anything and led them into the Divine Armament Building. In the main hall of the Divine Armament Building, a woman in her 30s dressed in red was guiding a group of people and introducing something. When she saw Tsinghui, Lai Gang, and the others, she didn't say anything. She only nodded at Cuckoo, who was leading the group. This is where the Divine Armament Building is located. Esteemed guests, please take your time to admire it. Everything that can be stored in our Divine Armament Building is, without exception, a divine weapon. Cuckoo smiled as she led the way. Lai Gang glanced at the woman in red. She looked like she was in charge of the Divine Armament Building, but she didn't come to entertain them. He, who was already angry, was even more dissatisfied. He glanced around indifferently. It looks like this batch of goods from the Divine Armament Building isn't much. There aren't many updates. This batch of goods is mainly ranked spiritual weapons. The ranked spiritual weapons are all on the 2nd floor. Do you want to take a look? Cuckoo still maintained a smile on her face. Lai Gang's expression was a little awkward, but he quickly changed the topic. He turned to Tsinghui. This time, the main person is Master Zhuo. He is the real buyer. Master Zhuo, please take a look and see if there is anything that can satisfy you. As he spoke, he took the lead and came before a sword. He pointed at it and said, Since you are a sword user, why don't you consider this sword? The dark nether sword is made of dark crystal and dark iron. It was forged by a master swordsmith. The sword is light and can cut through iron like mud. Although it can't compare to the Dragoncry sword that I had not long ago, it is still considered a good sword among the top-grade swords. You won't see it in ordinary places. The Dragoncry sword was given to the young marquis on his 20th birthday. The dark nether sword naturally can't compare. But if Master Zhuo wants to use it, it should be enough. Ning Hua complimented without leaving a trace. Can you take it down for me to take a look? Tsinghui asked. Cuckoo glanced at Lai Gang. Considering that there was a young marquis in the group, she said, of course you can take a look. I will take it down for Master Zhuo. Just look at it through the counter. Master Zhuo, you have to look at it first. The weapons collected by the Divine Armament Tower are very valuable. None of them are worth less than 1,000 gold. Because of this, you have to pay 1,000 gold as collateral when you enter the tower. For example, this sword is worth 6,300 gold. When you take it out, you have to be careful not to break it. Ning Hua said indifferently. Break it? That only proves that the quality of the weapons in the Divine Armament Tower is not worth mentioning. Please don't worry, Master Zhua. There is absolutely no problem with the quality of the weapons in the Divine Armament Tower. You can take a look at it, Cuckoo said hurriedly. Xing Hui stepped forward and pulled out the dark nether sword directly. Buzz buzz! As he flicked the sword with his finger, the dark nether sword immediately let out a crisp sword hum that resounded through the hall. For a moment, even the other group of young men and the woman in red in the tower looked in this direction with a trace of surprise on their faces. This is listening sword? Cuckoo seemed to have thought of something and could not help but exclaim in surprise. What is listening sword? Ning Xian could not help but ask curiously. Ning Hua glanced at Qing Su in surprise as well, and then said to Ning Xian, listening to the sword is a rather advanced method of judging swords. Rumor has it that some swordsmiths can judge a sword's material, quality, number of refinements, and so on through the sound of the sword's chime. But these swordsmiths are all swordsmiths themselves and have immersed themselves in swordsmanship for at least a decade. Zhuo Qingshu looks to be in his early 20s. He is just putting on an act. Lai Geng said lightly. The others also nodded. Chapter 20. A moment later, Xing Hui put down the dark nether sword. How was it? Did you hear anything? Ning Hua asked with a playful smile. Xing Hui ignored him. He glanced around the hall and came to another counter. He pointed at a sword and said, Please let me see this sword. Sure. Kuka paused for less than half a second before she quickly opened the counter and took out the sword. This is the Dark Desolate Sword. Its main material is dark iron, and it's supplemented with, I know. Xing Hui held the Dark Desolate Sword horizontally and flicked it. Buzz buzz. The crisp sound of the sword resounded in the hall again. After a long time, he nodded slightly. I'll take this one. Coco was a little surprised, but then she smiled and said, Young master, you have good taste. The Dark Desolate Sword is one of the best high-grade swords in the hall on the first floor of the Divine Armament Tower. Even if it's not in the top 3, it's definitely in the top 10. Young master, you're really extraordinary to be able to pick this sword out of nearly 100 divine weapons. What's the price? This sword is priced at 6,300 gold. Young master, are you paying with money or other items? 6,300 gold? Ning Xian couldn't help but exclaim when she heard Kuku report this number with a smile. One had to know that the marrow cleansing pill, which could allow one to break through to the marrow cleansing realm, was priced at around 15,000 gold. If one wasn't in a hurry and waited patiently, one could buy it for 10,000 gold. The Dark Desolate Sword actually took up half the price of the marrow cleansing pill. It was obvious that it was expensive. The Zhuo family has occupied many good mines over the years, but their foundation is still shallow. Their annual income is only tens of thousands of gold. Even if you're the eldest son, you'll be lucky to get 100 gold a year. 6,300 gold. If you want to save it, you'll have to save it for 63 years. Do you really plan to buy this sword? You have to know that the Divine Armament Tower doesn't accept credit. Ning Hua finally got to the point. He couldn't help but speak with a playful expression. 6,000 gold isn't a small amount. Xing Hui, do you want to buy this sword? If I remember correctly, there's a treasured sword at the entrance that costs only 1,400 gold. That's quite suitable for you. Feng Xiu also said kindly, but his face showed that he was waiting to watch a good show. Xing Hui glanced at Feng Xiu, making Feng Xiu's hair stand on end. He already understood that these people were up to no good. At this time, he didn't want to have too much to do with them. Ignoring them, he turned to Cuckoo and said, I have some things that I need to sell. Let's see if they're worth 6,300 gold. Seeing that Xing Hui really intended to take out something worth more than 6,000 gold coins, Cuckoo was a little surprised, but she still hurriedly said, "Young master, please follow me to the booth to rest for a moment. I will invite the appraiser over for you." As he spoke, he led Xing Hui to a private room not far away. Young Marquis, seeing that Xing Hui really went with Cuckoo, Ning Hua and Feng Xiu couldn't help but look at Lai Gang. "Let's follow and take a look," Lai Gang said in a low voice and silently followed Xing Hui. When they arrived at the booth, the appraiser who had received the news had also arrived. He was a little surprised to see Lai Gang and the others standing outside the booth, but he still walked around them and came to Cuckoo. "Young master, if there's anything that you need to sell, feel free to take it out." Cuckoo smiled. Xing Hui took out 3 gems and a jade pendant and placed them on the table. The appraiser quickly flipped through them and came to a conclusion not long after. These 3 gems are all top-notch jadeite. Each gem is worth no less than 600 gold. It's not difficult to sell them for 1,800 gold. However, the key is this jade pendant. This is Xianyuan blood jade. Wearing it can increase the efficiency of a Grandmaster expert's blood exchange. 4 months ago, someone in the royal city took out a similar Xianyuan blood jade and sold it for 6,000 gold. Although the price is slightly higher, if this young master is willing to sell it, our Garden can buy it for 5,500 gold. 5,500 gold plus 1,800 gold was a total of 7,300 gold. It was more than enough to buy a mysterious, desolate sword. Humph! Seeing that Xing Hui actually took out such a huge sum of money to buy the sword, Lai Gang's face darkened slightly, and he turned to leave. Yu Shanshan, on the other hand, was indifferent at this time. She watched Xing Hui buy the mysterious desolate sword worth 6,300 gold without hesitation. No one knew what she was thinking. When Lai Gang saw this, he was even more displeased. "Little brother, I'm not sure about the quality of this sword. I wonder if you can help me take a look." At this time, the red-clothed woman in charge of receiving the young man and the others came forward with a high-grade sword in her hand. She smiled and greeted them. "Sister Hong." Cuckoo bowed slightly to the red-clothed woman. The woman called Sister Hong waved her hand and her gaze fell on Xing Hui. "It's not difficult." Xing Hui stepped forward and took the sword from the red-clothed woman's hand. With a flick of his finger, a loud sword hum sounded out again. Not long after, Xing Hui said, "This sword is forged from fine steel and supplemented with wood crystals and wind spirits. Not only is it sharp and strong, it is also flexible and tough. In addition, because of the wind spirit, the sword is light and graceful. Those who are good at using fast swords can use the sword like the wind and increase the sword speed by 20% to 30%. It is an unobtainable high-grade sword. Good, today I am fortunate to be able to see little brother listen to the sword and taste it. It is truly a blessing." The woman called Big Sister Hong finished speaking and said, "Little brother, can you taste another sword for me? If you can tell me the origin of this sword, I am willing to give you the mysterious desolate sword for free." "Give it for free?" Yu Shanshan couldn't help but exclaim. That was a precious sword worth more than 6,000 gold. Xing Hui pondered for a moment. He also wanted to understand the level of this world's swords in detail so that he could sell them for a good price. He immediately nodded. "Little brother, take a rest first. I will send someone to get the sword." The woman in red smiled. "Bastard!" Lai Gang, who was watching from afar, couldn't help but curse in his heart when he saw Xing Hui and the woman in red talking and laughing. Young Duke, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and the others followed Lai Gang, feeling somewhat sullen. Where did this kid get so much money? Gems, blood jades, and even knows the sword listening technique? Is he really a master swordsman? After killing Yuanyang, these things are all the spoils of war seized from Yuanyang? Feng Xiu was somewhat puzzled. He can't kill Yuan Yang. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been chased by Yuan Yang. This matter won't end so simply. He bought a treasured sword and made us lose face. This brat must be very proud of himself right now. I heard that he was infatuated with Lan Yutong. It seems that he is quite lecherous. Feng Xiu, go next door and make some arrangements. Isn't he rich? Give this kid a badger. Yes, I will go now. Feng Xiu responded and quickly left. Is this a little bad? Ning Xian, who was beside him, whispered. What's wrong with it? As the young duke, he was humiliated by a kid from a remote city. It's ridiculous, Ning Hua said coldly. At this time, Feng Xiu had already arrived at the courtyard next door. In the inn garden, each courtyard had a different function. The Divine Weapon Building was responsible for the sale of weapons and armor. The courtyard in front of him was called the Carefree Building, which meant carefree and happy. Feng Xiu pondered about finding a suitable person to make arrangements for when he saw a woman in the courtyard dressed lightly. She was charming, but her face had a pure and pleasant appearance. Charm and purity, two completely different colors on her body, formed a strong visual impact. Even though Feng Xiu had interacted with many women, he still felt his heart heat up the moment he saw this woman. I didn't expect the Carefree Building to have such a beauty. You are lucky. Even a woman in a remote place like the Cloud Wilderness City can charm you. You will be fooled by such a beauty. Feng Xiu suppressed the heat in his heart and quickly stepped forward to the woman. Beauty, what's the price? I have something for you to do. What? The girl was suddenly pressed by Feng Xiu and was at a loss. Her blank and innocent look made Feng Xiu's index finger twitch. He couldn't help but touch her face. Her skin was so soft that it could be broken. Let's talk about the price and follow me to the Divine Weapon Building. As long as you can make Cho Tsing Hui sleep with you, money is not a problem. Ah! Being molested, the girl couldn't help but scream. Her right hand struck out in panic. Rogue! Slap! Feng Xiu was caught off guard by the girl. Even though he was in the marrow cleansing realm, he still couldn't react. He was directly slapped by the girl. His brain was in a daze from the slap. The girl was shocked and scared. She was so scared that she quickly ran out. When Feng Xiu came to his senses, the girl had already rushed out of the corner of the courtyard. F***CK. Bitch, how dare you hit me? Don't let me know your identity. Otherwise, I will make you beg for death. Feng Xiu chased after her in anger. As he chased after her, he vaguely felt that something was wrong. The strength of the girl's slap was not weak at all. To be able to stun him, an expert in the marrow cleansing realm, she was definitely in the marrow cleansing realm. The girl was at most 16 years old, but her cultivation was in the marrow cleansing realm. She was definitely not as simple as a woman from the Carefree Building. No matter how rich the Carefree Building was, it was impossible for them to let a girl who had reached the marrow cleansing realm at the age of 16 receive guests. This was most likely a misunderstanding. Bad luck. Ever since I met that guy, everything has gone wrong. Feng Xiu muttered to himself. Business was more important. He was too lazy to think too much. Soon, he went to the Carefree Building to find a suitable candidate. Chapter 21. The woman in red was called Qing Hong. She had the same name as a divine sword. Following her orders, someone quickly brought the sword over. A middle-aged man came along with the sword. This man had a huge amount of qi and blood, and there seemed to be the sound of a surging river in his body. He was obviously a grandmaster who had stepped into the blood transformation realm. Sending a grandmaster to escort a sword in the Divine Armament Tower's own territory showed how much importance the Divine Armament Tower placed on this sword. Please. Qing Hong handed the sword to Tsing Hui and gestured. This was an ancient sword that seemed to have a long history. It had probably existed for hundreds of years, but the owner of the sword seemed to cherish it very much and kept it well. It looked as if it was newly cast. When Tsing Hui held the sword, he could clearly feel the qi and blood in his body stirring. No, it was not the qi and blood in his body that was stirring, but sword intent? There was sword intent in this sword? He could only condense sword intent in a short period of time, using the Dongyang Sword Codex to condense sword intent. It was not difficult to release oneself and break the limits of the body, but it was impossible to make sword intent last forever. But in this sword, there was sword intent? Qing Hong noticed the change in Tsing Hui's expression and immediately asked, "Prince Tsing Hui, did you see something?" This sword. Tsing Hui raised the sword and flicked it. The sword hummed softly. He listened carefully, trying to find out what kind of mystery this sword contained that could resonate with the sword intent of the Dongyang Sword Codex in his body. After a while, Tsing Hui put down the sword and asked, "May I know the origin of this sword?" Qing Hong saw that Tsing Hui actually asked about the origin of this sword, and her heart skipped a beat. Others did not know the reason why the Tower Master bought this sword, but she had occasionally heard about it. She immediately pretended to be disappointed and said, "This sword is called Tai. It is said that it belonged to the Nine-Sword Sage, who was one of the famous sword cultivators in the eastern wilderness. His swordsmanship had reached the peak, so his sword is naturally not bad. I guess this sword can be called a peerless sword among the swords. A famous person's relic? I wonder if the Divine Armament Tower is willing to sell this sword?" Tsing Hui said. "Of course we, the Magic Weapon Tower, bought it in the hope that one day we can sell it at a high price. The so-called Immortal Nine Swords is just a bluff. Now that Prince Tsing Hui is destined to have this sword, it's okay to sell it to Prince Tsing Hui. I wonder what price Prince Tsing Hui is willing to offer? The quality of this sword indeed surpasses that of a high-grade treasure sword. It can be called a peerless treasure. I am willing to buy it for 10,000 gold. Prince Tsing Hui, you must be joking. If you were willing to pay 10,000 gold for an ordinary peerless grade sword, we would naturally be willing to sell it. However, the Greater One sword is not only one of the best peerless grade swords, it also belongs to the Nine-Sword Sage. 10,000 gold is too little." Speaking of this, Qing Hong smiled and said, "How about this? Prince Tsing Hui and I will go and ask the Tower Master. The Tower Master himself is also a person who likes sword. As the saying goes, pink powder is a gift to a beauty, and a treasure sword is a gift to a hero. If the Tower Master appreciates Prince Tsing Hui, he may sell this sword to you at a low price. The Greater One sword might be related to whether he had cultivated sword essence." Tsing Hui immediately nodded and said, "Okay, please." At this moment, a group of 10 people quickly came from outside the Divine Armament Tower. The guard in charge of the tower seemed to want to stop them and collect the admission fee, but he was slapped away by one of them and fell heavily into the hall. Someone actually dares to make trouble in the Divine Armament Tower? Seeing these 10 people rushing in quickly, many guests of Ingarden outside the Divine Armament Tower who had witnessed this scene all looked over. "Who is it?" 8 masters rushed out of the Divine Armament Tower again. Each of them was a person who had succeeded in refining organs. They quickly surrounded the group of 10 people, and the leader of them had even reached the Grandmaster realm. "Miss, the situation has changed. I have to send the sword away first." As the situation in the hall changed, the middle-aged man escorting the Greater One's sword hurriedly whispered, "Prince Tsing Hui, how about we leave together? Someone will deal with this matter here. No one dares to make trouble in Ingarden." Qing Hong said, "Okay." Tsing Hui nodded. Just as he was about to leave with Qing Hong, the leader of the 10 people who had rushed in, a young man in plain clothes but with an extraordinary aura, shouted, "Who is Cho Tsing Hui? Stand out and accept your death." "Huh?" Tsing Hui, who was about to leave, heard the young man's shout and stopped. The middle-aged man, escorting the Greater One's sword, was cautious at this moment. He ignored Qing Hong, put away the Greater One's sword, and quickly retreated. It could be seen that he attached great importance to this matter. Xing Hui was about to say something to the middle-aged man, but at this moment Ning Hua, who could see that the crowd was looking for trouble, quickly pointed at Xing Hui and said, "It's him. He's Cho Xing Hui. Are you going to get down yourself, or should I break your legs first and kick you down?" The young man looked at Xing Hui with an indifferent expression. Qing Hong's gaze swept over the young man and the 9 people accompanying him. She couldn't help but be secretly shocked. Among these people, 4 were grandmasters in the blood transformation realm. The remaining 6 were in the marrow cleansing realm, and the other 3 were in the viscera refining realm. However, this didn't mean that their cultivation was weak. On the contrary, these 6 people below the blood transformation realm were all under the age of 20. To reach the marrow cleansing and viscera refining realms under the age of 20, this kind of cultivation could only be described as terrifying. In particular, 3 of the 4 blood transformation realm experts were obviously guards. To be able to command blood transformation realm experts as guards, even the crown prince of a noble house wouldn't be able to do so. At this moment, Qing Hong personally stepped forward and bowed. "Guests, Qing Hong from the Divine Armament Tower greets you. This is Prince Xing Hui, an honored guest of the Divine Armament Tower. I don't know how Prince Xing Hui has offended you, but I'll first apologize. If you have anything to say, let's sit down and slowly discuss it. How about, Deacon of the Divine Armament Tower? This is none of your business. Move aside." The young man didn't put Qing Hong in his eyes at all and said indifferently. Seeing that Xing Hui wasn't coming down himself, he directly said to a blood transformation realm guard behind him, "Tai Bin, go and break his legs. Make him kneel in front of Yao Yao." "Yes, young master." Tai Bin responded and was about to take action, but at this moment, a person came in from outside the door. It was Feng Xiu. When he saw the hostile atmosphere in the Divine Armament Tower, he couldn't help but be slightly startled. He didn't know what had happened, so he could only walk around the young man and his group of 10 people and walk towards Lai Gang. "Young Marquis, what happened?" "Hey, Cho Xing Hui, this kid offended some big shots. This time he's in for a treat." Before Lai Gang could speak, Ning Hua was already gloating. At this moment, a young girl from the group of 10 people suddenly saw Feng Xiu and couldn't help but shrink back in fear. This movement was seen by another woman beside her, who was around 20 years old but had reached the peak of the viscera refining realm. She immediately said, "Yao Yao, is it that person?" The young girl called Yao Yao hesitated for a moment and nodded. "Ah, it's you." At this moment, Feng Xiu's gaze also fell on the young girl, and he immediately recognized her identity. This young girl was the one he met when he went to the Carefree building to find someone to trap Xing Hui. "Tai Ao, go, break his legs and bring him here," the woman ordered coldly without hesitation. "Tai Ying, you go too. Not only that kid, but also those who are with him. Capture all of them first," the young man added. "Yes." The 2 blood-changing realm guards who received the order quickly rushed forward. "What's going on? Who are you?" "I'm Lai Gang, the eldest son of the Marquis of Xianyan." "What do you want? Do you want to rebel by attacking the nobles of the kingdom?" Lai Gang took a step forward and shouted sternly. "Marquis of Xianyan? So what? I'll make him come personally and give me an explanation. Take him down." The 2 blood-changing realm grandmasters who received the order immediately rushed into the group of Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, and Ning Hua. Among them, the one with the highest cultivation, Lai Gang, had just stepped into the viscera refining realm, which was slightly inferior to Jin Go. Ning Hua and Feng Xiu were only at the marrow cleansing realm. As for Ning Xian, she was even worse. She was only at the tendon changing realm. How could she fight against the 2 blood-changing grandmasters? In one exchange, Lai Gang was beaten back repeatedly, his qi and blood surging. Feng Xiu, who was the focus of attention, had his right hand broken at the moment of collision. The sound of bones breaking mixed with Feng Xiu's screams clearly echoed in the hall. Not only that, the blood-changing Grandmaster who broke Feng Xiu's right hand was merciless. He ruthlessly kicked Feng Xiu's right leg. If this kick connected, it would definitely break his right leg. Stop! Clang! At this time, Yu Shanshan, who came with Lai Gang, could no longer ignore this. She shouted sternly and unsheathed her long sword. Her figure flew like a golden light and intercepted one of the two blood-changing Grandmasters. How dare you commit such a crime in broad daylight? Do you have any respect for the laws of the Lorraine Kingdom? Do you have any respect for the rules set by our Hunyuan Heaven sect? I haven't entered the top 10 on the new book list. Please recommend me. Chapter 22. Bang! The two figures collided in the air, and Yu Shanshan, who had yet to reach the blood transformation stage, was sent flying. However, her identity as a disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect made the blood transformation Grandmaster Taiying, who was rushing towards Lai Gang and the others, pause. Everyone, please calm down. There may be some misunderstanding. I wonder what the guests of the Divine Armament Tower have done to offend you. Let's make things clear before we start fighting. At this moment, Qing Hong hurriedly spoke. At the same time, a Divine Armament Tower Grandmaster expert who took the lead stopped Tai Bin, who was rushing towards Tsing Hui. The two exchanged blows, but they were unable to do anything to each other. The scene was in a stalemate. Divine Armament Tower, it seems that you intend to go against our Demon Hunters Association? Can you, a Divine Armament Tower, bear the consequences? Seeing the stalemate, the young man's expression darkened as he stared at Qing Hong with a sharp gaze. Demon Hunters Association? Hearing the man report his origin, Qing Hong exclaimed. The originally arrogant and angry young Marquis expression changed at this moment. There was a trace of fear on his face. As for Ning Hua and Ning Xian, they couldn't help but shiver. The number one underground force in the south that spans the 9 great kingdoms, the Demon Hunters Association? Yu Shanshan seemed to have heard of this force before, and was suddenly a little surprised and uncertain. Although the Demon Hunters Association was a semi-underground organization, its internal forces were definitely not weak. Not only did it span across the 9 countries, but there were also many experts within the association. They were responsible for hunting vicious beasts and spirit beasts, refining the blood essence of vicious beasts and spirit beasts, and selling them. This blood essence was the best treasure for cultivators who wanted to strengthen their bloodline after the awakening stage. The blood essence of vicious beasts was one thing, but if it was the blood essence of spirit beasts, its price would often be comparable to that of a ranked spirit weapon. There was once a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect who saw the powerful money-making ability of the Hunyuan Heaven sect and tried to take control of it by force. He led his followers to the Demon Hunters Union, but was beaten back by the Demon Hunters Union. Not a single one of his followers was left alive. If it weren't for his identity as a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect, he probably wouldn't have been able to return alive. Some of the higher-ups of the Hunyuan Heaven sect had thought of wiping out the Monster Hunters Union, but the president of the Monster Hunters Union seemed to have bribed some important figure of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. Often, he would be able to obtain information that the Monster Hunters Union would break up and avoid being hunted down by the Hunyuan Heaven sect. In addition, the Monster Hunters Union hadn't done anything outrageous, so over time, this faction was tacitly allowed to exist. Although the Divine Armament Tower had an impressive background and was close to Ing Yuan, it was obviously inferior to the Union of Demon Hunters. To tell you the truth, our young master is the son of President Wu of the Lorraine Kingdom branch of the Monster Hunters Union, Wu Ju. With our young master's identity, he is a distinguished guest whenever he goes to the Crown Prince's residence. 3 of the 14 princes of the royal family have a harmonious relationship with our young master. If you make our young master unhappy, why would it be difficult to close your Divine Armament Tower? A young man about the same age as the young man, Wu Ju, stepped forward and said loudly. As he reported the young man's identity, Lai Gang's face turned pale. President Wu of the Monster Hunters Union was a big shot that his father, the Duke of Xianyan, couldn't curry favor with even if he wanted to. But today, he had offended President Wu's son? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. So it's young Master Wu. Qinghong has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me. The young man waved his hand in dissatisfaction. Stop talking nonsense. That Zhuo brat beside you has such big guts. How dare he ask our young miss to accompany him? He should take a piss and look in the mirror to see what he is. Xing Hui's gaze immediately fell on the young man who spoke. Are you insulting me? Prince Xing Hui, please calm down. Qinghong hurriedly stepped forward to stop Xing Hui. Then, she turned to Wu Ju and the others and smiled apologetically. Our Divine Armament Tower definitely has no intention of offending the Monster Hunters Union. Prince Xing Hui has been doing business with our Divine Armament Tower all this time. He definitely wouldn't offend you. Could there be some misunderstanding? Before Qinghong could finish, she was already interrupted by the leader, Wu Ju. He raised his hand and looked at Xing Hui with a cold expression. What? You don't seem to be happy with what you said just now. Do you have any ideas? If you have any ideas, just say it. It's like I've always been blunt. So what if I'm insulting you? How dare a toad like you try to molest my sister? Didn't your guild master father tell you that this kind of indiscriminate and condescending attitude might bring you disaster? Xing Hui said. Disaster? Perhaps there are a few people in the Lorraine Kingdom that our Monster Hunters Union can't afford to offend, but those people definitely won't appear here. Originally, when you let your lackey offend my sister, I only planned to break your limbs and make you kneel in front of me and apologize. After all, I have to give the Lorraine royal family some face in the Lorraine Kingdom. But now, Wu Ju's face revealed a trace of ferocity. I've changed my mind. Wait a minute, lackey? Mr. Wu, the lackey you're talking about can't be that one, right? At this moment, Qinghong finally found the core of the matter. She immediately interrupted and pointed at Feng Xiu. But as far as I know, Prince Xing Hui isn't familiar with them at all. They can only be considered casual acquaintances. I can even see that they're targeting Prince Xing Hui. Could this be some kind of framing? Framing? Wu Ju frowned. He didn't want to be used like a fool. He immediately turned to Feng Xiu. Tell me, what's going on? At this moment, Feng Xiu's right hand had been broken, and he was in so much pain that he was sweating. When he saw Wu Ju looking at him, he immediately shouted in fear, It's none of my business. It's none of my business. Cho Xing Hui was rude to the young duke, which made the young duke unhappy. I was ordered by the young duke to find a woman to play badger with Cho Xing Hui. All of this was ordered by the young duke. Feng Xiu, you, seeing that Feng Xiu didn't hesitate to sell him out, Lai Gang turned pale with fright. When Wu Ju heard this and combined it with Wu Yuyao's previous complaint, he suddenly understood something. Obviously, this person thought that his sister Wu Yuyao was a prostitute in the Carefree building. Thinking of this, his face was full of killing intent. He shouted at the guards, What are you waiting for? Didn't you hear what I said? Whoosh! At this moment, the guards didn't hesitate for a moment. They quickly rushed toward Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and Ning Xen. On the side, Yu Shanshan tightened her grip on her sword but didn't attack again. For one thing, she was a little ashamed of what Lai Gang had done. For another, she couldn't afford to offend the Demon Hunters Union. Even the young miss behind her was in a critical period and couldn't be easily offended. What do you want to do? This is the capital. How dare you abuse the law? Miss Yu, help me! Lai Gang shouted and quickly retreated, trying to escape. However, before he could escape from the attack of the blood-changing Grandmaster, a young man standing behind Wu Ju who looked like a follower quickly drew his sword. With a flash of sword light, Lai Gang, who had just dodged the attack of a blood-changing grandmaster, had one of his arms chopped off. Blood splattered and quickly dyed the ground red. A shrill scream echoed in the hall. In this regard, Tsing Hui just looked and didn't say anything. Since these people wanted to set a trap for him, how could he be merciful and help them? Not long after, Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and Ning Xian had been captured and knelt in front of Wu Yuyao. The culprit, Feng Xiu, not only had his right hand broken, but also his legs. Lai Gang had one of his arms cut off and was bleeding profusely. On the other hand, Ning Hua and Ning Xian didn't dare to resist and didn't suffer any injuries. They were only captured and forced to kneel in front of everyone. It would be a big blow to the reputation of the Divine Armament Tower if a guest was injured in the tower. However, they couldn't afford to offend the Demon Hunters Union. Qing Hong could only pretend that she didn't see anything and said in a low voice, "Since the matter has been clarified, these people will be handed over to young Master Wu." Wait, did I say you could leave? Wu Ju glanced at the screaming Lai Gang and Feng Xiu and ordered, "Tell them to shut up." Then, he looked at Tsing Hui again and said expressionlessly, as if he was looking at an ant, "This incident was caused by him. If these people hadn't set a trap for him, my sister wouldn't have been frightened and molested, and none of this would have happened. Leave one of your hands and kneel down to apologize to my sister. My sister will deal with you personally." Qing Hong's face changed as soon as she heard Wu Ju's words. Not only her, but even the guests of Ingarden who were standing outside the door and looking in this direction were also shocked. Wu Ju seemed to be trying to show the dominance of the Demon Hunters Union. He neither suppressed his voice nor drove away the onlookers. Therefore, the guests of the Ingarden outside saw what he did clearly. This Demon Hunters Union is really overbearing, isn't that so? The Demon Hunters Union was an underground organization. It was only after they got close to an important figure of the Hunyuan heavenly sect that they slowly came out from the shadows. Before that, every member of the Demon Hunters Union worked with ferocious beasts every day and fought with spirit beasts at all times. They lived a life of licking blood from the edge of the blade. Naturally, they were vicious and brutal. Looks like we have to be more careful when dealing with the people of the Demon Hunters Union in the future. Hearing the discussions of the crowd, the youths who came with Wu Ju all held their heads high and their chests out. They were like a pack of wolves patrolling their territory, sweeping their aggressive gazes in all directions. They were full of pride for their identities. Qing Hong saw how overbearing the Demon Hunters Union was, especially considering that it was a terrifying force that dominated the 9 countries. She didn't dare to say anything and could only retreat to the side. The Demon Hunters Union, even if it was just a branch of the Lorraine Kingdom, the Divine Armament Tower couldn't afford to offend them. On the other hand, Yu Shanshan hesitated for a moment before standing up again. "My family's young miss is the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect's true disciple Naylan Fei. In terms of seniority, Cho Tsing Hui is my family's young miss nephew. I hope that everyone can give face to my young miss and let him go. After all, this matter doesn't have much to do with him." Hunyuan Heavenly Sect's true disciple, Wu Ju frowned. This identity still had some weight. After all, he, Wu Ju, was only the son of the branch president of the Lorraine Kingdom. He wasn't a branch president or a member of the headquarters, so he couldn't afford to offend a true disciple. However, Tsing Hui's previous words had made him extremely unhappy. What kind of arrogant attitude could bring disaster to them? With so many people watching, if they didn't teach him a lesson, the world would think that the Demon Hunters Union was afraid. "For the sake of your family's young miss, I won't argue with you. You don't have to use one of your arms. Come over here and kowtow, slap yourself 10 times, and then apologize to my sister. This matter will be over. In the future, remember to be careful of what you say. Be careful of what you say." Chapter 23. When Yu Shanshan and the others heard this, they understood why Wu Ju wanted to drag Cho Tsing-hui into this matter. It was because he had spoken too arrogantly. Thinking of what Ching Su had said earlier, Yu Shanshan naturally linked the person Ching Su had mentioned as someone he could not afford to offend to her young miss. The reason he was so arrogant right now was because he wanted her young miss to clean things up for him when the time came. As soon as he thought up to there, the slight change in his opinion of Ching Su vanished once again. This kind of person who only knew how to bully others with his connections could not be brought to the Hunyuan heavenly sect. Otherwise, it would only bring countless troubles to her young miss. Cho Tsing-hui, did you hear that? Young Master Wu has already shown mercy and spared your life. Why haven't you kowtowed and apologized to Miss Wu? Yu Shanshan's voice was slightly cold. Tsing-hui glanced at her and shook his head. He came to the front of Wu Ju in the hall and swept his gaze over the people around Wu Ju. 4 blood transformation realm cultivators. Your confidence comes from your blood transformation realm cultivation and 3 blood transformation realm guards? Seeing Tsing-hui's appearance, Wu Ju couldn't help but laugh. I can see that you're not convinced, you. Before Wu Ju finished speaking, a stream of light burst out from his body. Swish. The next moment, Tsing-hui's figure shook slightly, and the sword in his hand was unsheathed. The sudden change caused Wu Ju's pupils to shrink, and he immediately retreated. A protective jade talisman. The protective jade talisman that his father had asked for from the president. It was refined by a 3rd-stage eternal life realm cultivator who had poured his own aura chi into it. At the critical moment, the aura chi formed by the jade talisman could block a fatal blow. A fatal blow? Dead? If the jade talisman on his body hadn't burst out to block that sword, he would already be dead? With this thought, an unprecedented fear suddenly formed, almost completely swallowing him. This person called Cho Tsing-hui wanted to kill him, dared to kill him? Kill him! Kill him! Kill him for me! The fear of death made the son of the president of the Union of Demon Hunters, who had been talking and laughing arrogantly a moment ago, roar in fear. His face was filled with fury and killing intent. His 3 blood transformation realm guards also thought of the same thing. They were both shocked and angry. In an instant, they attacked together from 3 different directions. Cho Tsing-hui, are you crazy? I've already asked for forgiveness for you, yet you still don't know what's good for you and attack young Master Wu? You're seeking your own death. I've already fought for a chance for you, but you didn't know how to cherish it. I don't care about you anymore. From now on, you'll have to fend for yourself. Yu Shanshan couldn't help but shout, and quickly drew a clear line to avoid being implicated. The remaining Lai gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, and so on all took pleasure in Ching Su's misfortune. Even though they had been beaten up extremely miserably, they obviously felt even better when they saw Ching Su suffer the same fate as them. Tsing-hui didn't even look at Yu Shanshan. Facing the encirclement of 3 blood transformation realm experts, his body shook slightly, and a majestic power that was twice as strong as a blood transformation realm expert erupted from his body. First level of liberation. Whoosh. The next moment, the sharp sword in his hand whistled as it tore through the void. With the power of a thunderbolt, it fiercely collided with the fist of a blood transformation grandmaster expert. Bang! The sword edge and the fist force collided in the void, and a dull sound burst out. The floor that the blood transformation grandmaster expert was standing on was instantly torn apart and exploded. At the same time, his arm that collided with Tsing-hui's sword edge exploded. Chi. At the same time that the grandmaster expert Tai Ying's right hand was torn apart by the sword edge, Tsing-hui's figure had already brazenly stepped forward. The sword edge pierced straight through the grandmaster expert's head and came out from the back of his head. After piercing through Tai Ying's head, Tsing-hui twisted his body and avoided Tai Bin's attack. His left hand shook violently, and he used the tremor force technique to meet Tai Ao's attack at the same time. Although Tai Ao's technique was also extremely brilliant, he couldn't withstand Sing Hui's strength that was twice his. The two forces collided, and once again, an explosion occurred in the void. Crack! In the explosion, the sound of the bones in Tai Ao's right hand shattering clearly echoed, and his body was also shaken and flew backward. On the other hand, although Sing Hui's body paused slightly and his left hand was red and swollen as he retreated, he channeled all his strength into the ground and shattered it. Taiying? Seeing that one of the two grandmasters who came into contact with them was killed and injured, the remaining Grandmaster Tai Bin and young Master Wu Ju felt their minds go blank. Awakening realm? Only those who had awakened their bloodline and broken through the limits of the human body could have such combat strength. Did they kick an iron plate? He's not in the awakening realm yet. He doesn't have the blood chi pressure that an awakening realm expert can have on a Grandmaster expert after awakening their bloodline. It's just that he's cultivated a top technique, and his blood chi is far more vigorous than a blood transformation Grandmaster. Tai Bin was experienced and knowledgeable, and he immediately understood the mystery of Sing Hui's body. Go, let's attack together. Tai Bin shouted and immediately pounced on Sing Hui with Tai Ao. Yuan, take Yao Yao and leave first. Xiantong, follow me. Wu Ju, who was previously frightened by Sing Hui, also regained his senses at this time. After knowing that Sing Hui was not in the awakening realm, he roared and rushed forward. Accompanied by a cold flash, a sharp sword had already killed its way into the battle circle of Sing Hui, Tai Bin, and Tai Ao. Even if the sword had not reached him, the sharpness of the sword still made his skin hurt. A ranked spiritual weapon? Sing Hui's body leaped, and his eyes swept across the trajectory of Wu Ju's sword technique. He had already completely understood his sword technique, but he did not dare to block it. In terms of quality, a graded spirit weapon was much better than an ungraded spirit weapon. A rank 1 spiritual weapon was better. If it was a rank 2 spiritual weapon, a blood transformation grandmaster could fight an awakening realm expert with it. Entangle him. Seeing that Sing Hui easily dodged his sword technique, Wu Ju shouted. Suddenly, Tai Bin, Tai Ao, and Xian Tong roared at the same time, took out their swords and sabers, and broke out their strongest killing move. They swept through their chi and blood, almost blocking all the space where Sing Hui could dodge. Entangle me? With just you guys? Sing Hui's eyes sharpened. The next moment, the Dongyang sword technique was used. His right hand quickly shot out dozens of streams of light, completely filling the void in front of him. Dongyang sword technique. Meteor. Bang, bang, bang. Flames burst out. Of the two martial scholars and one peak viscera refining powerhouse, each of them had simultaneously blocked at least 10 sword strikes from this meteor-like sword light. They had been able to block the first few sword strikes, but the last few sword strikes had directly pierced through their defenses, piercing through their bodies and leaving bloody holes in their bodies. Especially Xian Tong, who was only at the peak viscera refining realm. He could not dodge in time and was stabbed 3 times by Sing Hui, bleeding profusely. You have to pay the price for insulting others. After blowing away the two grandmasters, Sing Hui's eyes fell directly on Xian Tong, who had been stabbed 3 times. His expression was cold, and his right hand did not stop for a moment, stabbing out again. No! You can't kill me! My father is the first hunting team captain of the Demon Hunters Union. Don't kill me! Xian Tong's body flew back, screaming in horror. Be more polite in your next life. Chi! Stop! The sword pierced through the head, and Wu Ju's angry shout sounded at the same time. Seeing Xian Tong, who had been playing with him since childhood, being killed in front of him, Wu Ju crazily roared, I want you dead! Whoosh! The sword light burst out. The sharpness contained in the sword light rushed toward him. Even if Sing Hui immediately understood the sword's trajectory and dodged, the sharpness contained in the sword edge still cut his cheek, leaving a bloody mark. Good sword. If I have this sword, I won't be afraid of awakening realm warriors. After dodging Wu Ju's sword, Xing Hui's eyes flashed. At the moment when Wu Ju's sword stabbed toward him, his eyes completely understood the changes of his sword technique. Then, he blocked with his sword, and his left hand brazenly grabbed out. Bang! The sword light shot out in all directions. The moment Xing Hui's ordinary sword collided with Wu Ju's rank spiritual weapon, it cracked and broke into two pieces. However, when the spiritual sword paused slightly after cutting through the sword, Qing Su's left hand reached out viciously. He actually pinched the sword between two fingers before exerting force with a jolt. Bang! Wu Ju's right hand that was holding the sword burst out red blood. For a moment, he couldn't help but let go of the sword. In the end, he watched Xing Hui take away the spiritual sword. My refined edge sword. Young master, run! Tai Bin and Tai Ao shouted loudly and intercepted Xing Hui. However, with the refined edge sword in his hand, Xing Hui's strength increased by more than a level. At the same time when Tai Bin and Tai Ao intercepted him, he had already rushed forward with his sword. The sharpness of the refined edge sword pierced out, overflowing with cold air. Before Tai Ao had time to react, the sword in his hand had already torn apart the battle sword in his hand, and the remaining force did not diminish as it pierced toward his head. Tai Ao's body quickly turned to avoid being pierced by the sword. But as Xing Hui's sword swept across, the sharpness of the refined edge sword had already cut through his throat, taking away a cluster of blood. No! Tai Bin roared and stabbed forward with his long sword as fast as lightning. However, with his level 2 sword Dao talent, Xing Hui seemed to have an intuition towards any sword technique. With just a glance, he could completely understand any low-level sword technique. This sword that was as fast as lightning was dodged sideways. Not only that, at the same time he dodged the sword, his mind had already derived many counterattacks. The sword that swept across Tai Ao's throat continued to slash down, hitting Tai Bin's sharp sword in the middle. Relying on the absolute advantage of a perfect rank spiritual sword over an ordinary sword, he easily broke Tai Bin's sharp sword. At the same time that Tai Bin's sharp sword was broken, Xing Hui's left hand had already pointed at Tai Bin's heart. Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, Tai Bin's body was penetrated by the force of this finger and flew backward. Under the meridian-severing skill, his heart stopped beating, and he died in the blink of an eye. The whole process was as smooth as flowing water. There was no pause at all. Two master-level powerhouses were easily killed by him with the sharpness of his sword. At this point, Wu Ju was the only one left among the 4 Master Blood Conversion Masters. Chapter 24. Hiss! Seeing Xing Hui kill the 3 blood-changing Grandmasters, everyone inside and outside the hall of the Divine Armament building sucked in a breath of cold air. Qin Hong, Kuku, and the others were fine, but Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and the others, who had been targeting Xing Hui many times, were all dumbfounded. 3 blood-changing Grandmasters were killed by him alone? Lai Gang's eyes were wide open, as if he couldn't even feel the pain in his body. Yuan Yang, he really killed them. The Cloud Forest Tower has misunderstood me. He killed a blood-changing Grandmaster half a year ago. Feng Xiu was scared silly. If a blood-changing Grandmaster was willing to join the army, he could easily become a general, and his status would not be inferior to his father's. However, such a big shot was killed like a cat or a dog in front of Xing Hui. Feng Xiu didn't know what was good for him and offended such a person for a young marquis who didn't even have a noble title? I specifically asked around from the Zhuo family. Chou Xing Hui is only a muscle reversion expert. Even if there was a rumor that he defeated our Hunyuan Heaven Sect's outer disciple Su Karen, it was too bizarre to be believed. I didn't expect these rumors to be true. With the combat power to kill 3 Grandmasters, Defeating Su Karen and killing the old and weak Yuan Yang is nothing. Now that he has a ranked spiritual weapon, he can compete with those awakening stage experts who have awakened the bloodline of dire beasts. Yu Shanshan was also deeply shocked by Tsing Hui's methods at this moment. In addition to being shocked, she also regretted her cold attitude just now. An expert close to the awakening stage, if he really goes to the Hunyuan Heaven sect, he will be a great help to Mississippi. If he awakens his bloodline in the future, he will step into the 6th stage of the longevity stage and become a true disciple and can become Mrs. Left and Right Arms. I said that you have to pay the price for insulting others. Are you satisfied with this result? Tsing Hui came to Wu Ju with the refined edge sword. Wu Ju's face alternated between green and white. Thinking back to how aggressive he had been when he had arrived and how his army had almost been completely wiped out, he suddenly felt like he had lost all face. His hatred for Tsing Hui had reached its peak. What do you want? I will give you a taste of your own medicine. This is my will. Whatever you want to do to me, I will do to you. You want me to kneel to you? I, Wu Jutang, am the son of the president of the Demon Hunters Association of the Lorraine Kingdom. How can I be humiliated by you like this? You also know what humiliation is? Then, why did you reply so confidently when I asked if you were humiliating me? Chi. Just as Wu Ju was about to say something, the sharp sword in Tsing Hui's hand had already pierced through his calf. Wu Ju didn't even have time to react. The intense pain caused his body to lean forward uncontrollably, and he fell to his knees. Stop! Seeing that Tsing Hui had actually dealt such a heavy blow, the slightly older woman who had been protecting Wu Yuyao immediately stepped forward and said coldly, Enough. Cho Tsing Hui, right? Wu Ju offended you. It's enough for you to teach him a lesson. Do you really want to kill him and have a falling out with the Demon Hunters Association? Wu Ju is the son of the president of the Demon Hunters Association. If you really dare to kill him, you will offend the entire Demon Hunters Association. By then, there will be no place for you in the entire Lorraine Kingdom. Not only that, but other than you, your family and friends will also be implicated. Even if you don't think for yourself, you should at least think for your family and friends. Tsing Hui's gaze fell on the woman. Are you threatening me? I'm not threatening you. I'm just stating a fact. We are all young people, and sometimes we do things impulsively. However, this doesn't mean that we can completely ignore the consequences. I don't need to say more about how powerful the Demon Hunters Association is. In the entire Lorraine Kingdom branch, there are more than 20 people in the blood-changing realm. If you include those who are affiliated with the Demon Hunters Association, there are more than 60 people. Moreover, Wu Ju's father, the president of the Demon Hunters Association of the Lorraine Kingdom, Wu Zhenyuan, had already awakened his bloodline 10 years ago and stepped into the awakening realm. No matter how strong you are, how can you be stronger than an awakening realm master? Therefore, if things get out of hand, it won't be good for you at all. There are more than 20 blood-changing realm masters directly under him, and more than 60 people affiliated with him. President Wu is in existence who has stepped into the Immortality Realm 6. Hearing the woman's words, Yu Shanshan's expression changed, and she hurriedly said, Tsing Hui, enough is enough. The Demon Hunters Association is not a small force. There's no need to make things so tense. Otherwise, even our miss may not be able to protect you. At this time, Qing Hong also stepped forward to be the peacemaker. Yes, Prince Tsing Hui, strictly speaking, this matter is just a misunderstanding. It's just a verbal conflict. Why do we have to make things difficult? We all belong to the Lorraine Kingdom, and we see each other all the time. Harmony is the most important. Wu Ju, say something. Give me some face, and let this matter end here. The woman turned to Wu Ju and said. Wu Ju endured the pain in his feet, hid the resentment in his heart, and stood up. Since Zhen Mei has spoken, I naturally have to give Zhen Mei face. Cho Tsing Hui, return my sword to me, and I can let bygones be bygones, as if today's matter never happened. He had already made up his mind. When he returned to the Demon Hunters Association, he would crush Tsing Hui's bones and scatter his ashes no matter the cost. If 4 masters couldn't defeat him, then 5, 6, 8, 10. Today's humiliation must be repaid with blood. Well, since Master Wu Ju has spoken, let's forget about this matter. If we really fight, it won't be good for you. While speaking, the woman called Zhen Mei by Wu Ju, Mu Zhenzhen, looked at Tsing Hui and Yu Shanshan meaningfully. Even if we really fight, even the true disciple behind you may not be willing to protect you. Yu Shanshan's heart skipped a beat, and she keenly thought of the rumors of the Demon Hunters Association. Not only was this force extremely powerful, but it was also said that they had bribed an important figure of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. If things really got out of hand, her miss really couldn't intervene in this matter. Otherwise, it would escalate to the level of a game between her miss and that important figure of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. When she thought up to there, Yu Shanshan said in a hurry, "All right, Qing Su. Since the matter has been clarified, it's a misunderstanding and the misunderstanding has been resolved. Young Master Wu Ju plans on letting bygones be bygones. Quickly return the sword to young Master Wu Ju. Let bygones be bygones." Tsing Hui looked at Wu Ju. "You agree to let bygones be bygones, but that doesn't mean I agree." Hearing Tsing Hui's words, Mu Zhenzhen's expression suddenly darkened. "Cho Tsing Hui, don't make a mistake." "Mistake? If I'm not as strong as you, what will happen to me? I'm afraid I won't be able to escape death today. Now that you find out that you're not as strong as me, you immediately change your face and say it's a misunderstanding and want to let bygones be bygones. Are you going to fulfill the wishes of everyone in the world? How can there be such a good thing in the world?" Hearing this, Mu Zhenzhen couldn't help but laugh in anger. "Then what are you going to do?" Tsing Hui fell silent. Cho Tsing Hui. Seeing that Tsing Hui didn't seem to want to let bygones be bygones, Yu Shanshan suddenly became anxious. Enough is enough. Now that Master Wu has made it clear that he won't pursue this matter, if you still insist, be careful that when the Demon Hunters Association questions you, our miss will just stand by and watch. This girl is right. Although you have strength that surpasses the Grandmaster stage, you haven't stepped into the 6th level of the longevity stage. The reason why you're so fearless is because you're relying on the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect's true disciple, Miss Naylan Fei. Once you don't have Miss Naylan Fei's support, it's easy for our Demon Hunters Association to deal with a blood transformation stage martial artist. Mu Zhenzhen spoke frankly and with assurance. Her gaze was sharp as she stared directly at Tsing Hui, fearlessly confronting him. "I don't understand. Why can you say things that don't make any sense so naturally and confidently? Just like how Wu Ju bluntly told me just now that he was insulting me. What should I do?" So, in order to make him speak nicely, I showed him what I would do, but now, it doesn't seem to have any effect. Tsing Hui's tone paused slightly, and his gaze fell on the girl. "Your tone is still so confident, as if you've shown mercy and decided to let bygones be bygones. Then, I should also choose to reconcile and let this matter end unsettled, because this is your style of doing things, because you think you're stronger than me, and follow the law of the strong being respected. The truth will revolve around the strong, and your Demon Hunters Association belongs to the side of the strong. The worldview of Earth and the other world is ultimately different. It can be considered as paving the way for integrating into the other world's worldview." Chapter 25. The woman, Tsing Hui, and Yu Shanshan were equally baffled by Tsing Hui's inexplicable words. Truth revolved around the strong. The strong were respected. That had always been the law of this world. Was there anything wrong with it? However, looking at Tsing Hui's solemn face, and considering the fact that they were in a stronger position right now, Mu Jinjin could only hold back her dissatisfaction and continue the somewhat idiotic conversation with him in a cold tone. Now that you have made it so clear, I might as well make it clear that, compared to you, the Union of Demon Hunters is indeed on the side of the strong. Going against the Union of Demon Hunters will not do you any good. Once you really attack us, not only will you die, but your family, your friends, and everyone related to you will be obliterated by the retaliatory strike of the Union of Demon Hunters. Even the true disciple behind you might not be willing to fight the Union of Demon Hunters to the death to protect you. Therefore, Cho Tsing Hui, you need to stay rational and not make mistakes. Mistakes? No. You seem to be mistaken about one thing. Between the Union of Demon Hunters and me, the real expert is not the Union of Demon Hunters, but… Tsing Hui looked at Mu Jinjin in front of him, his eyes gradually turning sharp. Me. Tsing Hui's words slightly dazed Mu Jinjin. Then, disbelief appeared on her face. Are you trying to provoke the entire Union of Demon Hunters? Lunatic. Wu Ju, who was full of resentment and planning to summon more than 10 masters to kill Tsing Hui the moment he escaped from Tsing Hui's clutches, suddenly had a hint of fear in his heart. Lunatic. He should have realized that the Cho Tsing Hui in front of him was a lunatic from the beginning. A world where the strong kill people as a matter of course, a world where the weak deserve to die, and a world that is unreasonable. Then, in order to break the vacuum as soon as possible, I will follow your rules, throw away the old shackles, and let the world revolve for me. After Tsing Hui finished his speech, the air around him seemed to have changed. Quietly, he broke through the shackles and was reborn. Tsing Hui turned his head slightly, and his eyes fell on Wu Ju, which made his heart tremble. As the one who allowed me to truly integrate into the rules of this world, I won't kill you. The Demon Hunters Union is rich and has no lack of money. But I need to cultivate quickly, and I happen to lack these mortal things. Therefore, if you want to keep your lives, each of you will have to pay a ransom of 100,000 gold. There are 6 of you here, and excluding you, the total is 500,000 gold. 500,000 gold? Are you crazy about money? Mu Jinjin was so angry that she laughed. 500,000 gold. Even a graded sword could not compare to that. You're unwilling to give it to me? Tsing Hui's gaze fell on Mu Jinjin. Cho Tsing Hui, don't go too far. Although we are now in your hands, I don't believe that you don't have any relatives or friends. If you really dare to touch a single strand of our hair, Sister Jinjin, shut up. Seeing that Mu Jinjin was about to continue angrily, Wu Ju suddenly shouted and interrupted her. He then said, 500,000 gold, we are willing to pay. However, even if our Yao Hunters Union wants to gather 500,000 gold, we still need time. Alright, I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, I'll go to the Demon Hunters Union to ask for the money. Then Wu Ju was about to ask them what they should do, but Tsing Hui had already turned around and walked towards Qing Hong. Seeing this, Wu Ju was slightly stunned. Then he thought of something and hurriedly pulled Mu Jinjin, Wu Yuyao, and the others out of the Divine Armament Building's hall as quickly as possible. Tsing Hui did not stop them in the slightest. After Mu Jinjin, Wu Ju, Wu Yuyao, and the others disappeared from the courtyard outside the Divine Armament Building, Yu Shanshan, Qing Hong, and even Lai Gang breathed a sigh of relief. He spoke so fiercely, but didn't he still obediently let them go in the end? He just wanted a way out. What can we do? Don't tell me you want to see this young man called Cho Tsing Hui fight with the Demon Hunters Union? That's the Demon Hunters Union. It's a colossus that spans the 9 great kingdoms and has as many experts as the clouds. Even in the entire eastern wilderness, such a faction is a first-rate existence besides the 10 great sacred sections. Who dares to provoke them, even if he has a true disciple as his backer? This young man named Zhuo Qingshu has no choice but to let the matter rest. But I don't think those people from the Demon Hunters Union will be willing to let the matter rest so easily. They've lost 3 grandmasters and a young elite who has reached the viscera refining stage. If the Demon Hunters Union doesn't do anything about it, what will happen to their reputation? What's there to be afraid of? He has the Hunyuan Heaven sect backing him. As long as he hides in the Hunyuan Heaven sect, the Demon Hunters Union won't dare to behave atrociously in the Hunyuan Heaven sect. That's true, no wonder he's so fearless. Outside the Divine Armament Building, seeing the Demon Hunters Union members leave, the onlookers discussed and dispersed. Prince Tsing-Hui has made a wise choice. Inside the Divine Armament Building, Qing Hong smiled. Yu Shanshan caught up with Tsing-Hui, who had come to Qing Hong's side, and hurriedly said, "Cho Tsing-Hui, although young Master Wu said on the surface that he won't pursue this matter, the Demon Hunters Union has suffered such a huge loss and lost 3 masters. They won't let this matter go so easily. We must leave the Luo Lin royal capital and head to the Hunyuan Heaven sect before he reacts. Fortunately, you have strength that surpasses ordinary masters. As long as you stay in the Hunyuan Heaven sect for a period of time, you can enter the inner sect and become an inner sect disciple. Your status will be higher, and even if the Demon Hunters Union wants to pursue the matter, they won't dare to act rashly. Don't be impatient," Tsing-Hui said to Yu Shanshan, then turned to Qing Hong and said, "Let's go see the building master of the Divine Armament Building and discuss the sale of this sword." Qing Hong looked at Tsing-Hui and hesitated for a moment before saying, "Prince Tsing-Hui doesn't need to leave with young Miss Yu first?" Tsing-Hui shook his head. Qing Hong thought for a moment and said, "Not long ago, President Wu of the Demon Hunters Union brought the most elite team to the Muse Grasslands to hunt spiritual beasts. Currently, there aren't many masters in the Demon Hunters Union. Even if the Demon Hunters Union really wants to take revenge on Prince Tsing-Hui, it will probably take 8 to 10 days to gather several masters. They might even have to wait half a month for President Wu to return. In these 2 days, Prince Tsing-Hui shouldn't be in too much danger. However, whether you want to see our building master or not is still up to you, Prince Tsing-Hui." "I'll go," Tsing-Hui said. "Cho Tsing-Hui, do you really think the Demon Hunters Union is so easy to provoke? Or do you think that if you were captured by the Demon Hunters Union, young Miss would risk going to the Demon Hunters Union to save you?" Yu Shanshan couldn't help but say angrily. Qing Hong persuaded, "Our building master is in the Lorraine royal capital. It won't take long for him to rush to the Divine Armament Building. Even if we include the conversation with Prince Tsing-Hui, it will take at most half a day. Young Miss, you might as well take this opportunity to check where the Hunyuan Heaven sect's flying ship is docked and calculate a safe route to the Hunyuan Heaven sect." Hearing Qing Hong's words and seeing that Tsing-Hui was determined to see the building master of the Divine Armament Building, Yu Shanshan could only helplessly say, "I hope nothing will happen to him during this time. Please rest assured, young Miss Yu. This incident happened suddenly. If the Demon Hunters Union comes again, we will think of a way to send Prince Tsing-Hui away through other secret doors. Then I'll have to trouble you, Deacon Qing Hong. Young Miss Yu is too polite." Qing Hong said and gestured to Tsing-Hui, "Please follow me." Tsing-Hui nodded and followed Qing Hong into the inner courtyard. As for Lai Gang, Feng Xiu, Ning Hua, Ning Xian, and the others, they had already learned their lesson. Moreover, he believed that as one of the main culprits who caused the Demon Hunters Union to lose 3 grandmasters and a peak viscera refining expert, their ultimate fate would not be as simple as having an arm or a leg broken. Chapter 26. Outside the Divine Armament Tower. Xian Long, the tower master of the Divine Armament Tower in a black robe, was quickly approaching under the escort of 4 people. At the entrance, there were 2 blood transformation grandmasters waiting with a solemn expression. "Tower Master! Where is the Sword Master? Did he really understand the mystery of the Tai sword? He's in the tower. Deacon Qing Hong is entertaining him." "Qing Hong? Although she knows that I value this sword, she doesn't know to what extent. Send someone to keep watch. Don't let the Sword Master leave. Tower Master, don't worry. Of the 4 Grandmasters in the Divine Armament Tower, besides the 2 of us, one is guarding the sword, and the other is outside the door. We won't let him leave easily. Moreover, the reason why he wants to see you is because he wants to buy your sword. Therefore, before you give a detailed answer, he won't leave easily. Buy the sword? It seems that he really saw through the mystery of this sword. Over the past 3 years, I've invited more than a dozen sword masters, but none of them could understand the mystery of the sword. Originally, I was about to give up and planned to step into the awakening realm with ordinary method. Who would have thought that I would finally see the dawn of success today? House Lord, this child has not yet explained the mysteries of the Greater One sword, and from what I can see, he attaches great importance to the Greater One sword. Using ordinary means, he may not obediently spit out the secrets of the Greater One sword and… Xian Long waved his hand and interrupted the words of the blood-changing Grandmaster. Wu Gang, anyone who knows the secret of the Tai sword will want to take the Tai sword for themselves. Even if they can't use it, they will leave it to their relative. Therefore, I have never thought of using ordinary means to force the secret of the Tai sword out of his mouth. However, this is the Divine Armament Tower. When the time comes, it will not be up to him whether he says it or not. This subordinate understands, but Tower Master may not know that this Tsing Hui is not simple. Not only does he have the background of a true disciple of the Hunyuan Heaven sect, but he also has a high cultivation base. Just 2 hours ago, he had a conflict with the son of the Demon Hunters Guild president, Wu Ju. He killed 3 Grandmasters with 1 sword under the siege of 4 blood-changing Grandmasters. Wu Gang's words immediately caused Xian Long, who was in a hurry, to stop. A sword appraisal Grandmaster at the first level of immortality? No. If he's on immortal level, we won't have any other thoughts. He doesn't have the bloodline pressure of an immortal level or an awakening level. He's only on the blood-changing level. He must have cultivated some kind of powerful method to make his chi and blood much stronger than an ordinary blood-changing Grandmaster. A top-notch technique? Was he trying to awaken a spirit-beast bloodline or even a saint-beast bloodline? Have you investigated his background? We received news from Lai Gang and the others that he is a disciple of Cloud Desolate City's Zhua family. Cloud Desolate City? Backed by the desolate Cloud Mountain Range, the people are valiant, and there are a few blood transformation realm experts overseeing them. However, this Zhua family, the Zhua family is not worth mentioning. They don't even have a blood-changing Grandmaster, but they have a true disciple behind them named Nailin Fei. It is said that she is very talented. I've heard of Nailin Fei. She is a famous figure among the true disciples. She became a true disciple 6 years ago, and 3 years ago, she was already at the 2nd level of immortality. Now it is said that she is about to condense Aura Chi. She is an extremely famous genius disciple in the entire Hunyuan Heaven sect. It is said that many elders give her face and think that she has a chance to become a peak master within 100 years. A peak master? Wu Gang's expression was awe-inspiring. The weight of a peak master in the Hunyuan Heaven sect was equivalent to that of a hall master. If any peak master was willing to develop outside, they could establish a force that was not inferior to the Lorraine Kingdom. It could be said that a peak's force was equivalent to a large country. This Cho Tsing Hui is related to Nailin Fei. Then hey, there's no need to be so overcautious. Cho Tsing Hui's battle prowess far surpasses that of a blood-changing Grandmaster. If we attack later, we have to capture him alive in one blow. Only then can we slowly force the secret of the Tai sword out of him. There are 4 Grandmasters in the building, and the House Master has also brought 2 Grandmasters. In addition to the House Master, it's about time. Not enough. Go, invite Master Shang Jiuxiao of the Inherited Heaven Sword Dojo. Invite Master Shang? Master Shang is a half-step immortality expert. He once defeated 4 grandmasters with one sword. With Master Shang here, it is indeed enough to ensure that nothing goes wrong. I'll go now. Quickly, Xian Long said as he was led to his own courtyard by his subordinate. He had spent a lot of effort to set up this courtyard. There were many mechanisms inside, and even an expert of the first level of immortality would not benefit from it. As he sat down in the study, Qin Hong, who had received the news not long ago, brought Xing Hui to the study. Seeing the two of them, Xian Long stood up enthusiastically and welcomed Xing Hui in. Haha, this must be Prince Xing Hui. You are indeed dignified and mighty. Please take a seat. House Master Xian. Xing Hui said and asked directly, I wonder if House Master Xian is willing to sell the Tai sword in your hands? Haha, since the sword has been taken out, I naturally hope to sell it for a high price. However, this sword is after all a famous person's relic. I am very curious about the mysteries of this sword. I wonder if Prince Xing Hui can explain it to me? Xing Hui was not surprised that these people could not see the mysteries of the Tai sword. This sword contained sword intent. Only those who had cultivated the sword intent could feel its mysteries, and the cultivation of sword intent was not easy. Xing Hui was able to obtain the title of Sword Saint in China on Earth. In addition to his outstanding battle achievements, being able to condense a sword intent in a short period of time at such a young age was the most important thing. If he could buy this sword and use it to cultivate swordsmanship for a long time, he would definitely be able to cultivate the true sword intent after carefully comprehending it. He would not need to explode his spirit to be able to use it. A superb quality sword. It can be said to be unique among the superb quality swords. I feel that this sword is very suitable for me. Xian Long saw that Xing Hui clearly did not want to speak, and his heart turned cold. At this moment, an old man of the blood-changing realm appeared outside the study. Xian Long seemed to have received a secret signal, and let out a sigh of relief. Qin Hong, you can leave, Xian Long said. After Qin Hong left, he slowly said, I don't know the mysteries of this sword, but I know a thing or two about its origin. I wonder if Prince Xing Hui is interested in hearing about it? Xing Hui frowned. He slightly sensed that there were already 4 master stage experts gathered outside the study. Including Xian Long, who was slightly stronger than Master Blood Changing, the number of master stage experts had reached 5. The lineup was even larger than the group of people from the Demon Hunters Union at the entrance of the Divine Armament Building. Xian Long seemed to not see Xing Hui's frown and continued, This sword belonged to Supreme Nine Sword. It is said that he relied on his swordsmanship to awaken the bloodline of the holy beast White Tiger. Later, he was valued by a hall master of the Xunshao sword sect, who was an enemy of the Hunyuan heaven sect, and assisted him to cultivate the bloodline of the Golden Rock. He had 2 meridians in the same body, and his killing power was unparalleled. In just 10 years after entering the Xunshao sword sect, he cultivated to the 3rd level of the longevity stage and condensed a sword aura. He suppressed the elders and was known as the #1 sword cultivator among the true disciples. Unfortunately, the Hunyuan Heaven sect would never watch such a genius rise. In the end, he was ambushed and killed by a peak master of the Hunyuan Heaven sect. The Tai sword was the sword Supreme Nine sword used before he entered the Xunshao sword sect. In the 10 sacred sects, those below the 3rd level of the longevity stage were all true disciples. When they reached the 4th level, they could take charge of a peak and be called the peak master's disciple. When they reached the 5th level, they could be conferred the title of deputy sect master and enjoy the privileges of a deputy sect master. In addition, if a true disciple exceeded the age of a disciple by 60 years in the 4th level of the longevity stage, he would automatically become an elder. If he reached the 5th level, he would become a hall master. When he reached the 6th level, he would automatically become a supreme elder. Tsing Hui, who was multitasking, was immediately attracted by Xian Long's words. Relying on swordsmanship to awaken the White Tiger bloodline? You mean, he did not cultivate the secret method, but relied on swordsmanship to awaken the White Tiger bloodline? Yes, and it's the Holy Beast bloodline. Xian Long seemed to know what Tsing Hui wanted to ask, and said, "It's true that one can awaken the White Tiger bloodline without cultivating the secret method, but the difficulty is too great. Every person who awakens the White Tiger bloodline by relying on their own cultivation without cultivating the secret method can be said to be amazing, 1 in 100. Moreover, because self-awakening can often be supplemented by some top-secret methods and the essence and blood of spiritual beasts, it can awaken a new White Tiger bloodline again, and achieve dual cultivation. Any dual cultivator can break their own limits and cultivate the Holy Beast bloodline at the same time. At present, the new book is in the process of rushing to the new book list. Please give your support. Let the ranking of Hunyuan Sword Emperor move forward again. Chapter 27. Xian Long's words immediately opened a new door for Tsing Hui. It turned out that one did not need to rely on special secret methods to awaken bloodlines. It was no wonder that many inner disciples of the Holy Land were still unwilling to break through, even though they had terrifying blood qi that far surpassed the blood transformation realm. One reason was that they wanted to cultivate a better awakening method. Another reason was that they had to attempt self-awakening. After all, once they were able to self-awaken, they would be able to cultivate dual meridians with the help of the Holy Beast blood essence. It would not be an exaggeration to say that they had reached the heavens in a single bound. After a moment, Tsing Hui's expression changed. He had already realized the reason why Xian Long had told him this. It is rumored that the Greater One Sword contains the secret of 9 Swords Sage's self-awakening bloodline. In the past 3 years, I have invited no less than 20 sword masters to search for the mystery of the sword, but these 20 people have been unable to find anything, until today. Xian Long's gaze landed on Qing Su. There was a hint of fanaticism in his eyes. Zhuo Qingxiu, you've allowed me to see hope once more. Hope for a dual meridian cultivator who has awakened his bloodline to reach the heavens in a single step. Tsing Hui glanced outside the door, then his gaze returned to Xian Long. Does the Divine Armament Tower know the consequences of doing this? Xian Long was a smart person and understood the meaning of Tsing Hui's words. With a resolute expression, he said, "Cho Tsing Hui, I have waited for 3 whole years for this moment. As early as 3 years ago, I could have awakened my bloodline and stepped into the immortal realm. However, in order to discover the secret of the Greater One Sword, I have delayed until today. Therefore, I am determined to obtain the secret of the Greater One Sword. I can assure you that as long as you are willing to tell me the secret of the Greater One Sword, I can give you anything you want. Money? Beauty? Power? Even if you want a ranked divine weapon, I can get it for you." Tsing Hui shook his head. He did not believe that Xian Long was willing to share the secret of the Greater One Sword with others. Seeing Tsing Hui's appearance, Xian Long's expression sank. "Cho Tsing Hui, don't force me. I have waited for this day for 3 years, and no one can stop me. Even if you have a successor disciple behind you, you cannot stop my determination. If you are willing to tell me the secret of the Greater One Sword, we can complete the transaction and everyone will be happy. If you are not willing to tell me the mystery of the Greater One Sword—" At this point, there was already a hint of coldness in his tone. "I've been in charge of the Divine Armament Building for many years, and there are many capable people under my command. There will definitely be someone who can help me pry open your mouth. Is that so? In that case, are you prepared for the Divine Armament Tower to be completely wiped out?" Tsing Hui slowly pulled out the level 1 divine weapon, refined edge sword, which he had obtained from Wu Ju. Cho Tsing Hui, don't force me. There was a trace of anger in Xian Long's eyes. I don't want to fight with you to such an extent, but if you really force me, then don't blame me. To tell you the truth, in order to deal with you, I have already called in 6 great masters. In addition, I have also invited the famous Sword Dao Grandmaster Shang Jiuxiao of the Royal City, and myself. With this force, even if the 10 blood transformation realm experts join forces, we can still defeat them. No matter how brilliant your cultivation method is, you are still not someone who has stepped into the immortal realm. Facing us 8 great masters, you will definitely die. Sword Dao Grandmaster? He has also seen the Greater One sword, for you, right? He can't even see the mystery of the Greater One sword. What kind of Sword Dao Grandmaster is he? Arrogant brat. Before Xian Long could speak, a voice came from outside the door. Immediately after, an old man who looked around 60 years old stepped into the room under Wu Gang's lead. Hall Master Shang. Xian Long nodded to him. Shang Jiuxiao looked around 60 years old, but in fact, he was less than 50 years old. It was said that because he failed to awaken his bloodline, he ended up like this. Therefore, he was trying to collect life-prolonging medicines. Xian Long used a stalk of longevity grass as a lure to invite him out of the mountain. Hall Master Xian. Shang Jiuxiao responded, his gaze falling on Tsing Hui. This is the person Hall Master Xian wants me to deal with? He is just an ignorant brat. There is no need for you to act, I alone am enough to deal with him. Xian Long cupped his hands. We naturally believe in Hall Master Shang's strength, but I still need to capture him and interrogate him about the secret of the Greater One sword. I need to capture him alive, so it is better for us to cooperate with Hall Master Shang. Shang Jiuxiao seemed to ponder for a moment before speaking again. Since Hall Master Xian needs to capture him alive, then to be cautious, I will reluctantly join forces with you. After all, Hall Master Xian's matter is more important. Thank you Hall Master Shang for your understanding. Xian Long cupped his hands slightly at Shang Jiuxiao. Boy, I will give you one last chance. Immediately surrender and tell me the information Hall Master Xian wants, otherwise, clang. What greeted him was Tsing Hui's sword. Let me see how you can be called a sword master. The sword light shook, and the refined edge sword, accompanied by the explosion of qi and blood, was like a meteor tearing through the void. It brazenly arrived in front of Shang Jiuxiao. The sword edge was mixed with a ranked spiritual weapon, and the sharpness of tearing through the void suddenly made Shang Jiuxiao's expression change. Boy, how dare you! How dare you sneak attack! Shang Jiuxiao growled, and the sword in his hand was immediately unsheathed. The sword light moved and turned into a dazzling sword shadow, as if wings were blooming. Even if it did not collide with Tsing Hui's sword edge, it still completely blocked the sharpness of the refined edge sword, and stabbed along the body of the refined edge sword, going straight for Tsing Hui's wrist. The essence of swordsmanship. Qianyu. As a famous sword master in the Lorraine Kingdom, Shang Jiuxiao's understanding of swordsmanship had reached the pinnacle even though he had not comprehended sword intent. His sword stabbed out incisively and vividly, showing his understanding of swordsmanship. In front of him, Tsing Hui's swordsmanship was like a toddler who had just learned how to walk. However, swordsmanship was still just swordsmanship. Shang Jiuxiao could call himself a sword master, but he was far from reaching the level of swordsmanship. That's it? Tsing Hui's qi and blood suddenly surged, and his essence, qi, and spirit reached the pinnacle at this moment, as if they were connected to the refined edge sword in his hand. Essence and qi combined with spirit, spirit combined with sword, sword combined with intent, and intent combined with heart. Gather the faith in one's heart, cultivate the immortality of one's spirit, forge the sword with spirit, forge the sword with intent, and forge the sword with heart. That was the true meaning of swordsmanship. If one did not comprehend the true meaning of swordsmanship, how could he call himself a sword master? Whoosh! The sword light pierced through the sky. Even though Shang Jiuxiao had performed his swordsmanship to the extreme, in front of the true meaning of swordsmanship, all the changes in swordsmanship were like a dream and shattered with a loud bang. Xing Hui's sword light carried an irresistible sharpness, sweeping through the surroundings and brazenly stabbing towards Shang Jiuxiao. Before the tip of the sword arrived, the sharp aura and the sword intent contained in the swordsmanship had already turned into a giant sword that could hold up the sky, tearing Shang Jiuxiao's spirit and intent apart. This, Shang Jiuxiao's eyes widened as if he had seen the most unbelievable scene in the world. Club Master Shang? Be careful! Sensing that Shang Jiuxiao's expression was not right, Xian Long shouted and hurriedly blocked with his sword. The Divine Armament Tower collected all the divine weapons in the world, and there were many ranked divine weapons. In addition, Xian Long himself was a tyrannical figure who surpassed the ordinary blood-exchanging sect. His qi and blood surged, and his sword could be said to be earth-shattering. The intense friction between the sword edge and the air formed an ear-piercing sound, as if it was going to cut the space in the room in one fell swoop. However, Xing Hui's expression did not change at all in the face of Xian Long's sword attack. Sword intent. Condensing all the essence, qi, and spirit of a swordsman, the sword pierced out with a resplendent brilliance that would not be affected by any external force. Even if Xing Hui's sword intent was not perfect, and he could only occasionally use the eruption of essence, qi, and spirit to perform such a stunning move, this sword had already been pierced out, and no one could stop it. The intent was in the heart was in the sword was in the spirit, and the life was eternal, and the sword intent was inextinguishable. If the heart was not dead, the sword intent would exist forever. Qi. All the sword light vanished into thin air. The sword light of the refined edge sword was like a shooting star, tearing Shang Jiuxiao's sword light apart and piercing through his glabella. Chapter 28. Sword Intent. Shang Jiuxiao's eyes widened as he spat out the two words with difficulty. In the end, he fell on his back. Master of the Sky-Bearing Sword Dojo. One sword, dead. Shang Jiuxiao had once defeated 4 great blood transformation grandmasters by himself with a single sword. He had made a name for himself in the Lorraine kingdom and was a guest of honor in the manors of many nobles and princes. After that, he opened the Sky Inheritance Sword School in the kingdom and taught countless disciples. It was said that the most outstanding of these disciples had already stepped into the viscera refining realm and had hope of blood transformation. However, no matter how good he was, he could not withstand one blow from Chou Xing Hui and was killed by one sword. Such a scene was a great shock to Wu Gang, Xian Long, and the others who were surrounding him. Master Shang of the Sky-Bearing Sword Dojo actually. How is this possible? Wu Gang, Xian Long, and the others were shocked, but Xing Hui was not moved at all. After killing Shang Jiuxiao, his figure didn't slow down in the slightest. His left hand suddenly pointed out horizontally, landing heavily on the sharp sword of Xian Long. With a pring sound, the force rippled. The ranked divine weapon that was aimed at Xing Hui's heart was pushed away by the force of his fingers. Then, his body flashed and the refined edge sword stabbed horizontally. Not good. Wu Gang, who had rushed forward, did not have time to change his sword. The sword light of the refined edge sword had already torn apart his sword defense that was full of flaws and pierced through his throat. Wu Gang. Qi. After piercing through Wu Gang's throat, Xing Hui flicked the tip of his sword. The ranked divine weapon, refined edge sword, carried an unstoppable sharpness as it flew through the air and collided with the sword of another grandmaster expert. Bang! Sparks burst forth. The huge gap between a ranked divine weapon and a top-grade sword was demonstrated vividly at this moment. Even if the blood-changing Grandmaster's cultivation was not weak, and he had a good grasp of the timing, taking advantage of the critical moment when Tsing Hui had exhausted his strength and had not yet recovered his strength to assassinate him, wiping out the difference in strength between the two, his upper-grade sword was still broken in the first moment when the metal clashed. Having lost the sharp sword, Tsing Hui took a step forward and moved forward. He pinched the fingers of his left hand into a sword and used the meridian-severing skill. With a burst of bone-penetrating force, he pointed at the vital point of the Grand Master Blood Conversion Master's heart and blew it up through his body. 2 Grand Masters died in an instant. But this was not the end. After killing this Grand Master Blood Swap, Tsing Hui's heavenly weapon in his right hand had already swung 180 degrees behind him, blocking Xian Long's furious sword strike. Boom! The 2 ranked heavenly weapons collided in the void, sputtering out streaks of sharp qi, which cut Tsing Hui's sleeve like sword qi. Even his right hand, which was holding the sword, had bloodstains. Tsing Hui turned a blind eye to these minor injuries. Instead, he used the force of the sword strike to leap back 6 meters. His right foot kicked against the wall, and like a shooting star, he charged toward the other 2 Grandmasters who had just rushed into the study. Be careful! He has a ranked heavenly weapon in his hand. Xian Long roared angrily. The force under his feet exploded, and he chased after Tsing Hui. In terms of combat strength, Xian Long was not inferior to a martial sage at the first level of liberation. With the help of his heavenly weapon, he was even stronger than a martial sage at the first level of liberation. However, Tsing Hui had relied on months of cultivation to push his body to the limit of the second level of liberation. He also had a heavenly weapon that was not inferior to Xian Long's. His strength was only above Xian Long's, and he had an overwhelming advantage against ordinary Grandmasters. When the 2 Grandmasters who had rushed into the study attacked, the refined edge sword had already pierced through the head of one of them. Then, he took the blow of the other Grandmaster and used the force of the blow to soar into the air. Once again, he avoided Xian Long's sword strike and turned to the other Grandmaster Blood Swap. Retreat! Retreat! Retreat quickly! Don't fight with his heavenly weapon! The remaining Grandmaster shouted in fear. In front of him, a Grandmaster in the Blood Swap realm was as weak as an ant, and he could easily kill him. Xian Long's heart trembled at the sight of this horrifying technique that was close to the immortal realm. How is it possible? Even if you have cultivated the top techniques to awaken the bloodline of the sacred beast, you can't be this strong. Sect Guarding True Technique? You have cultivated the Sect Guarding True Technique to awaken the bloodline of the sacred beast. Xian Long shouted in shock. Leader, leave quickly. We can't stop him. One of the remaining 3 Grandmasters shouted. He activated a secret technique and exploded his qi and blood. There seemed to be a roar of a dragon coming from his body. Then, he punched out. The force and air friction formed an explosive power. If this punch landed on a wall, it would be enough to shatter it. Whoosh! Tsing Hui's body moved and the tip of his sword spun rapidly. His level 2 sword principal talent allowed him to perform the best sword art even if his understanding of swordsmanship was not at Shang Jiuxiao's level. After this sword strike, no matter how the Grandmaster Blood Swap changed his fist art, he could not avoid the refined edge sword's attack. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as his thunderous attack landed on the refined edge sword. Half of his arm was turned into a bloody mist by the sharpness of the refined edge sword. Wu Xian, seeing the miserable state of the Grandmaster in the Blood Swap realm, Xian Long cried out in pain. The master of the inherited Heaven Sword School, whom he had high hopes for, was killed in an instant. Of the 6 Grandmasters he had brought, 3 were dead and 1 was disabled. Exilarating Long was heartbroken. The magic weapon school he had painstakingly built was about to be destroyed because of Tsing Hui. Damn it. He is a monster who cultivates the true skill of his school and tries to awaken the bloodline of a divine beast. This kind of monster is not only in the awakening realm, but also in the awakening realm. As long as they are given a full set of ranked magic weapons, they will dare to fight against awakening realm grandmasters who have awakened the bloodline of ordinary fierce beasts. Ordinary grandmasters will not be able to stop them. Exilarating Long's heart was full of unwillingness, but seeing Tsing Hui's ferocity, he had to swallow his anger. Before Tsing Hui could finish him, he quickly took the Tai sword and rushed out of the study. Leave the Tai sword. Qing Su originally planned on dealing with Exilarating Long after killing all the grandmasters of blood conversion, but when he saw how Exilarating Long actually wanted to leave with the Great Unity Sword, he immediately leapt up and shot towards Exilarating Long like an arrow. Stop him! Exilarating Long shouted angrily and retreated quickly. Protect the house master! The remaining two grandmasters knew that they were no match for Tsing Hui, but they still roared and moved forward bravely. They raised their swords and sabers and attacked Tsing Hui from both sides. Huh? Tsing Hui frowned. His qi and blood were boiling, and the power of the second stage of liberation was fully unleashed. Bang! The saber light and the sword shadow disappeared. The two Grandmaster Realm experts who came to intercept him flew backward at a speed not slower than when they came. One of them had his throat pierced by a sword. He covered the wound with his hand and was full of fear. The other person was not injured, but his chest had completely collapsed. He was still in the void, but he was already on the verge of death. He killed two Grandmasters with one blow. Such a fierce scene made Wu Xian, who had lost half of his arm, and Exilarating Long, who had escaped from the study, dumbfounded. How could the blood-changing realm be so powerful? Chapter 29. Lord, what's going on? What's going on? At this time, the people outside the courtyard seemed to have heard the noise coming from the study. Led by Qing Hong, more than a dozen organs refining experts quickly surrounded them. At this time, although Tsing Hui's white clothes were fluttering and he looked calm, the sharp sword in his hand was stained with blood. Drops of blood were still flowing along the sword and dripping to the ground from the tip of the sword. Soon, a blood-red puddle was formed on the ground. Just like that, he stood before Exilarating Long and Wu Xian without taking any further action. However, even with that being the case, the master of the Exilarating family, who was basically omnipotent in the eyes of Qing Hong and the others, was filled with fear. He was actually afraid to act recklessly when Qing Su stood in his way. Lord, Qing Hong naturally understood what had happened in the study room earlier. However, as she looked at the extremely terrified Exilarating Long and Wu Xian who had lost an arm, a storm arose in her heart. Did Lord Exilarating Long attack Tsing Hui? Moreover, looking at the unscathed Tsing Hui, they failed? Do you want to live or die? Tsing Hui looked at Exilarating Long and did not make the final move to kill him. I want to live. Exilarating Long did not care about the humiliation and quickly responded. Tsing Hui's display of strength that was not inferior to the immortal realm had already smashed the greed in his heart. Leave the sword. Let's go to another room and talk. Yes. Exilarating Long responded and respectfully handed the sword that was not inferior to the refined-edged sword in quality to Tsing Hui. He did not dare to show the slightest dissatisfaction. Lord, Qing Hong, bring some people to clean up the study and take Wu Xian to treat his injury. Exilarating Long said in a low voice. Also, no one is allowed to spread what happened today. Yes. Qing Hong said with some trepidation. At the same time, she looked at Tsing Hui with some fear. She knew that the Divine Armament building was most likely going to change owners. And this new owner might be this unknown young man who she did not take seriously half a day ago. Prince Tsing Hui, please. Xian Long gestured with his hand and quickly brought him to another room. For the divine armament building to be able to take out a ranked divine armament for sale, who is the real owner behind it? Tsing Hui asked. I am the son of Dragon Chant Island's island lord, Xian Jianzong. The true backer of our divine armament tower is Dragon Chant Island. After Xian Long finished speaking, he cupped his hands at Tsing Hui and said, Our divine armament tower was disrespectful to Prince Tsing Hui, and we are willing to apologize. The ranked divine armament and the Tai sword can be used as compensation. We sincerely hope that Prince Tsing Hui can forgive us. Dragon Chant Island? Tsing Hui had heard of it before. One of the top powers in the southern seas of the Lorraine Kingdom. It was said that the entire Dragon Chant Island had a population of 1 million, and the island lord's cultivation had reached the immortal stage. In addition, he was a rather famous master refiner who could refine ranked divine armament. He had a wide circle of friends and had a close relationship with many top powers. With connections, strength, ability, and influence, the Divine Armament Tower had no need to fear anyone in the entire Lorraine Kingdom as long as they did not offend the royal family. Unfortunately, he had met Tsing Hui. Not only did Tsing Hui have battle prowess close to the immortal stage, but he also had the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's true disciple, Nalan Fei, behind him. The Dragon Sword Sect's potential had been exhausted. If it were not for the title of Master Refiner, it would be impossible for them to lead millions of people and establish a country within a country. However, Nalan Fei was a talented true disciple who had reached the second stage of the immortal stage at a young age. She had even begun to condense Gang Qi and was expected to become a peak master in the future. If Xian Long dared to use his power to oppress others, the entire Dragon Chant Island might be buried with him. It is indeed Dragon Chant Island. This matter was completely due to my obsession. I vainly attempted to force Prince Tsing Hui to reveal the secret of the Tai sword. I hope that Prince Tsing Hui will not take out your anger on Dragon Chant Island. I, Xian Long, am willing to bear all the blame. Xian Long respectfully bowed to Tsing Hui. If he had obtained the secret of the Tai sword from Tsing Hui, awakened by himself, and became the Temple Master's disciple, he would not have paid any attention to a mere Nalan Fei. He would have killed Tsing Hui, but now, not only would he miss the opportunity to obtain the Tai sword, but Dragon Chant Island would also face the threat of Nalan Fei, a true disciple. He had no choice but to lower his head. Tsing Hui saw through Xian Long's thoughts at a glance. This kind of person was like a real villain. He could be ordered to do things, but he was not trustworthy. Since you plan to cultivate 2 meridians at the same time, you must have prepared a brilliant awakening method. Xian Long only hesitated for a moment before he quickly responded, Yes. Then, he took out a cloth scroll from a hidden compartment on his belt and respectfully handed it to Tsing Hui. This is my awakening method, called the Wandering Dragon Sea Suppressing Art. It is a supreme true method. When cultivated to the extreme, there is a 90% chance of awakening the spiritual beast bloodline. Supreme true method? Because Tsing Hui had already reached the peak of the blood transformation stage, and occasionally mingled in the Chaos Temple, he was well informed and had a good understanding of awakening methods. Awakening methods could be divided into ordinary methods, true arts, saint techniques, and divine scriptures. They corresponded to the 4 bloodlines of vicious beasts, spiritual beasts, sacred beasts, and divine beasts. And each method could be divided into ordinary, superior, first-rate, top, and supreme according to the probability of awakening. Ordinary saint techniques had a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline, while supreme saint techniques had an 80 to 90% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. The Azure Dragon True method that Tsing Hui had derived from the longevity art was an ordinary true method. When cultivated to perfection, there was a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Black Hole True Method was a first-rate divine scripture. Although it was the most ordinary divine scripture and difficult to cultivate, there was still a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast Kuanpeng bloodline. Methods above the saint technique level were monopolized by the 10 great sections. Anyone who dared to leak it would be hunted down by the 10 great sections. Even the true methods that were circulated outside were of ordinary quality. The Zhua family's Azure Dragon True Method was something that Naylan Fei had specially requested from the sect to repay a debt of gratitude. Even with her identity as a talented true disciple, she could only request an ordinary true method. From this, one could see how difficult it was to obtain a high-grade true method. But now, Xian Long actually had a supreme true method in his hands? Wait a minute. A saint technique that only had a 10% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline. Why would he spend so much effort to cultivate 2 meridians at the same time? I've already given you a chance. Xing Hui's right hand slowly grasped the hilt of his sword. Seeing this, Xian Long panicked and said, Prince Xing Hui, what is the meaning of this? I've already given you the true method you wanted. Clang. In response, a sword was unsheathed. Wait a minute. I got it. I still have a saint technique. As Xian Long spoke, he pretended to search his body for a moment. Soon, he took out an ancient scroll filled with an ancient aura. This is the Sky Pung Unhindered Art, a top-rate saint technique. A saint technique, and a top-rate saint technique that had a 30% chance of awakening the sacred beast bloodline? Recalling Xian Long's appearance when he took out this saint technique, Xing Hui seemed to have guessed something. You're a son of chaos? Xian Long's heartbeat instantly doubled, but he quickly controlled his abnormal emotions and forced a smile. Prince Xing Hui, you must be joking. What kind of people are sons of chaos? Every one of them can be called a genius blessed by the heavens. They have great opportunities and great fortune on them. As long as they don't die prematurely, they can easily attain immortality in the future. How could I have such an opportunity? It looks like you've really obtained the inheritance of a son of chaos. What rank is he? Xing Hui stared at Xian Long, his eyes gradually sharpening. Under Qing Su's gaze, Xian Long opened his mouth, and his voice gradually sank. He said with a hint of desperation, I've obtained the legacy of a Class 5 Son of Chaos. I've retained 2 classes. The first class is Comprehension, and the second class is Space. Young Master Qing Su, don't try to force me into anything. We can just go down together. It won't be difficult for you to defeat me with your strength, but you definitely won't be able to capture me alive, let alone stop me from committing suicide. It'll be impossible for you to force the method to open the Chaos Divine Hall out of me. If that's the case, why don't I use great treasures to buy my life? If you spare my life, I'll give you all the treasures I've obtained. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.